not just a case. You're not just a client. You're a person, and you deserve support. You deserve simplicity. You deserve communication. When you hire an attorney, you deserve clear, risk-free advice that guides you to the best possible outcome in your injury case. And that's exactly what the advocates have been providing for over 30 years. After your accident, you deserve closure. You deserve compassion. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show live on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. As always, we are presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, where you get clear, risk-free advice. Plain and simple. The 100 most dangerous days of the year, they're happening right now. Memorial Day to Labor Day. If you're on a motorcycle, if you're riding a bicycle, you know that people in cars and trucks, they don't pay attention. No, sir. If you get hit while you're out being more active, riding your bike, riding your motorcycle, be ready, be prepared. The advocates are ready. They're prepared. They're willing to serve you. And the best part is you never have to reach into your pocket. It doesn't cost you a dime to talk to one of the best injury attorneys in the business at theadvocates.com. Hope you had a phenomenal weekend. Thanks to all of you who serve this country. I know we have a phenomenal amount of military and law enforcement that listen to the show. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you in all seriousness for making this show possible. We always appreciate your service so much. Greg Sankey, who is not appreciated. His service is certainly not appreciated across the board. It's very interesting over the last, 36 hours, how many people have DM'd me, how many people have sent me stories about what a bad guy Greg Sankey is, and he's the devil. Is Greg Sankey the devil? Is Greg Sankey a bad person? He's not. And I think if you're a college football fan, I understand you want to live in this utopic society where you feel like your team is in a great position to win a championship. They're not. You want to feel like your school has a chance. They don't. That's the reality of college football. And that is not Greg Sankey's fault. As much as I think most college football fans outside of the SEC want to pin everything that's currently going wrong with college football, and that's a lot. You want to pin it on Greg Sankey, but you simply can't do that. Instead of pointing at Greg Sankey, look in the mirror, because you're going to hear from Sankey in a minute, and we're going to get into this in depth. The one thing that I would ask you is your favorite team. And look, for me as a Notre Dame fan, is my favorite team moving college football forward? I can actually say I don't think we are, but I don't think we're hurting it, right? Notre Dame gave up its voting power and its voice to make sure they were in the college football playoff every year. And last year, we almost won the whole damn thing, right? So I don't think we're hurting college football. I don't think we're helping college football. But there is one thing that is very clear. If your conference is not named the SEC, you're hurting college football. I say that about the Big Ten. I certainly say it about the Big 12 and the ACC, where the bar is extremely low to excellence. That a program like Indiana can roll into the Big Ten last year and feel like they had it all and Google me, I just win. And then you got your ass handed to you in South Bend. It tells me all I need to know about the quality depth that does not exist in the Big Ten. And when we look at the ACC, certainly there is no question. Clemson did the job last year. Florida State did not. But how many other teams in that league are even in the conversation for a college football playoff spot? The exact same thing about the Big 12. How many teams in the Big 12 last year were in the conversation for a college football playoff spot? 2, and if we stretch, maybe 3. Jake, that tells me The SEC is far and away the best conference in the country.
Yeah, it's the best conference in the country, and I think that this conversation around people hating on Greg Sankey is just completely unfounded. I think Greg Sankey has led this conference to all-time highs. I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, let's start listing off the sports that the SEC does well in. Football, obviously. Basketball, I would say a newer development by collegiate athletic terms, right? That's only been a thing for the last 2-3 seasons, but now it's definitely a thing, right? So football, basketball, pretty solid in baseball. Don't know if you're paying attention, pretty damn solid in softball, and the list continues. And so I look at this conference and I say, why is it that we blame them? Why do we shame them? Why do we say, nah, Greg Sankey's trying to destroy everything we love about college football, when this guy's out here leading the most successful conference in collegiate athletics? Yet we want to sit here and be like, nah, he's the bad guy. And I just have an issue with this because you don't get to have it both ways as a college sports fan. You don't get to say, well, our conference is being held hostage by the SEC, or, Greg Sankey's not giving the Big 12 or the ACC a fair shake. But did you give yourself a fair shake? Did you put in the effort? Did you, hold your conference, member institutions to a standard of excellence that is akin to the SEC? Because notice, nobody's saying that you have to be the SEC per se. All that we're saying is that you have to put in the same amount of effort. Your standards need to be at a similar level, on par with the level that you're playing at in sports, and you have to care. And I feel like that's the biggest difference, is that we all want to look at this dude and say, nah, Greg Sankey's a bad guy because he's trying to figure out how to shepherd everyone forward. But the difference is whether you want to complain about strength of schedule, you want to complain about how the basketball tournament's figured out, or whatever it might be. These guys have gone out and started winning in pretty much every area.
Yep.
And now that's why they have the power.
Well, I think the biggest issue is you have to hold every member institution in your conference to a very high standard. And I think any time that change happens, people are not comfortable with it. But we could all apply that to our own lives, where whether it's a job, a new girlfriend, a divorce, death in the family, like that change, no matter how severe, is uncomfortable. And you look at what college football and college athletics on the whole are going through, it's uncomfortable to talk about the House settlement. It's uncomfortable to talk about transfer portals, and this stuff is not easy. But I think when you listen to somebody like Greg Sankey, and again, I know that people hate when I say it, you don't have to like Greg Sankey, but he has earned your respect. I think it's very difficult to argue that. And you listen to him talk about the change in college athletics, and I don't know how you disagree with him.
The process of change is really exciting at the start. It's like running a marathon, which I've done a few times. Every time I've ever run a marathon, you can't sleep the night before. You're up early. You're at the start line. The start of anything is really exciting. And you go through that, and then you get to the end, and you see, running down Boylston in the Boston Marathon, or in Central Park in New York City, or crossing the river in Missoula, Montana to finish there. I mean, it's exciting, right? There's a finish line. The start and the finish is always invigorating, exciting, but the middle is messy, whether it's a marathon, whether it's decision-making, whether it's change. And we are in the middle, and it's messy. That's not unique to college sports. That's not unique to higher education. That's not unique to American society.
No, it's not. It's not unique. Change is difficult, but this change, and in the comments section, I'm not trying to speak for you, certainly. In the comments section, do you feel like, one, you've done a good enough job hitting the like button today? Okay. Two, do you feel like this change is necessary? The change that we're seeing in college football. I think the House settlement and the finances and paying kids and profit sharing and revenue sharing, and you can't stand still when all of that is going on. I think the change was absolutely necessary from what we've seen, and the maturation of the money, the way that it is doubled and tripled, and quadrupled, the kids had to get something. And I think that Greg Sankey is the guy who is pushing revenue generation forward. And if I look at Jim Phillips in the ACC, that guy has been so busy putting out fires in his own house. I don't know how they could be looking at growth and expansion. I look at the Big 12. I think Brett Yormark is the second best commissioner in all of college sports. Truly, I think he's done an incredible job. But the one failing in the Big 12, and I'm not saying that certainly this is Brett Yormark's fault, you don't have people that want to win.
Well, and I think that's kind of what this conversation is about, because in my opinion, change, like Greg said, it can be messy. And there's definitely, there are definitely stages to change happening. But I also think on the other side, or another point in this conversation, is there are different types of change, right? If you think about it, for a college football or college athletics administrator, there are different levels of change, meaning that if we're talking about the house settlement and we're talking about money and how that pertains to student athletes, that change is going to be, probably feel and be regarded differently than changing the model with which your conference and the member institutions get paid. Right. Obviously, as people, it goes without saying that we care a lot more about losing money than we do about how to make more money. So if we're all, in the Big 12 or the ACC or whoever you want to look at, if we're all at this certain level, right, this certain, this is our ground level, Greg's up here trying to say, hey, dude, we need to get to this level. And not everybody wants to go along with that thought process, which again puts guys like Greg Sankey in a really tough position when all you're doing is you're beating the hell out of everybody else who doesn't really want to change.
Because he's pulling people with
along,
him, right? That's the biggest issue. Is I think so many people, like when we talk about the Super League, I cannot tell you how many people ask me, well, how are you going to do that for basketball with the NCAA tournament? Nobody, including Greg Sankey, has ever said you're going to change college basketball when a Super League comes in.
But think about that. If you bring up a Super League to someone in their first response or their reaction is, hey, well, how's basketball going to come along? Well, number one, it shows a little bit of a lack of understanding how it works, right? Or the fact that it's possible to make a change to college football without having to even bring up college basketball. Because, again, Brett Yormark, that we talk about so much on this show, was the innovator of hey, we're going to have a football segment and we're going to have a basketball segment.
They're
and
different
those two are
business.
separate.
They're different businesses.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at, if you listen to Greg Sankey talk here a little bit, and then I really want to get into the comment section, because I think when we have conversations about Greg Sankey on the show, and I think we've seen this throughout the last at least 2 years, anytime Greg Sankey comes on the show, there's no middle. He's a jackwagon. He's amazing. That's it. There's nothing in the middle. Nobody's like, nah, Greg Sankey, take him or leave him. Nobody is in the middle, right? So I really want your comments on this. But if you listen to Greg Sankey talking about strength of schedule, for instance, I think you guys know I have beat the drum on this show for strength of schedule being one of the most important metrics to determining who is in and who is out of any college football championship. So obviously I agree with King Sankey on this.
Whether people want to agree with it or not, that's up to them. We can go through the analytics and show the rigor of our schedule is different than anyone else's, period. And we had a learning session in September at the CFP about strength of schedule, and strength of schedule isn't everything, but it is an important factor. I remember very clearly one of the messages was, if you play the top-ranked team and the 130th ranked team, those two games average out to 65.5. If you play 65 and 66, they average out to 65.5. And so the advisor said, you're just as well playing 65 and 66. Here's my problem. But for maybe two teams in a year, we don't have 65 or 66, and everybody else has a group.
Exactly. The SEC doesn't have 65 and 66. And what is the other thing that we always hear about when it comes to strength of schedule? The SEC, Monty, they got to play 9 games. Okay, why though? Why? You have a conference in football, and to your point now in basketball, but let's keep the two separate. You have a conference in football that is on a regular basis deeper and more difficult head-to-head inside of itself than any other conference in the country.
And nobody disagrees.
The Big Ten is not deep. The Big 12, the ACC, they're not deep. Look how deep the SEC is. So if you want the SEC to play 9 conference games, you got to expand the college football playoff. There's no other way around it, because why should they play a significantly more difficult schedule than the Big Ten, than the Big 12, than the ACC? Why should they do that? There's no reason for them to do that. Now, if you expand to 16, which I am telling you, I continue to hear from the people I talk to, especially the people in TV. Television wants 16 teams in the college football playoff. They want it. It's more money. It's more games. It's a longer college football level of interest for the average viewer. It turns an average viewer into a passionate viewer in December, because games in December have a lot more leverage than the Poughkeepsie State Pool and Weed Eater Plumbers Union Bowl, right? Like, those games matter. TV wants 16. And if you are Greg Sankey, if you go to 16, then you can play 9 conference games. There's more margin for error. But if you're at however many you want to point to here, if you're at 8, if you're at 12, why would you play 9 conference games? That's suicide. You are literally saying, I don't want to make more money in a 12-team playoff. Yeah, I don't want to make more money. Let's play 9 conference games. That's what you're saying.
Well, and I also think it's a conference championship game conversation. I just think it's and this is where the water gets really murky, because, again, it's like this question of, and this is what I think pisses people off, but this thing that I've been seeing all over the place for quite some time about how, Greg Sankey has this responsibility to consider the greater good versus what's best for the SEC. And I'm telling you, whether you like it or not, what's best for the greater good is the SEC continuing to play the biggest games in college football. Because I can tell you right now, I'm not here for average-ass Big 12 game. I'm here for big-time SEC or SEC Big 10 matchup. That's what I'm here for. Like we can all stop beating around the bush of like, oh, well, Penn State and Boise State, man, that was a hell of a matchup, guys. No, it actually wasn't. It wasn't.
No,
now,
it wasn't.
And by the way, Notre Dame and Indiana wasn't really all that great of a matchup, was it?
And I don't understand why the Big 12 and the Big 10 play 9 games. Now, in the Big 10, bro, you're not deep. The Big 10 is, how many teams in the Big 10 last year? I mean, obviously an undefeated Oregon team, right? I mean, Oregon's 9-0. Was Indiana really a good football team? Was Indiana one of the
best teams in college football?
No, it was not. No, it was not. Sorry.
I win. Google me.
And I'm happy to Google you. I know that you got your ass beat routinely.
Google me.
And this is the argument that now we're having, right? Because if I look at Indiana's schedule, oh, Monty, they play 9 conference games. It's not fair. Okay, help me then. You help me. Indiana's schedule last year, Florida International, 31-7. They win. Western Illinois, 77-3. At UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, at Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, at Michigan State, Michigan, at Ohio State. You got your doors blown off by the Bucks.
Come around and find out.
In the first real game you played.
Yes.
Think about that. That was November 23rd. That's the first real game that you played. And then you beat Purdue 66-0. You go to the college football playoff and you were never in the Notre Dame game. Was Indiana really a good team? No, they were not.
By the way, they beat you without a quarterback, just saying.
I mean, we can go on and on about this. But when you look at the Big Ten, it's not a deep football league.
So I understand. The point is,
I know why they play 9 games.
Why they play 9, right? But again, just the way we understand why they would play 9 or the Big 12 would play 9, we know why the SEC is only playing 8 because they don't have to play 9. This is not hard to understand.
I think playing 9 games is really, really not smart. If you are the SEC, if you're the Big 12, Oak State's not going winless. Who was at the bottom of that league? Arizona last year, UCF, Utah's not going to be 2-7. Houston's not going to be. But my point is, you look at all the teams. What is the good team? Potential college football playoff team. Where is that line last season in the Big 12? It probably stops at BYU. I do not believe that Colorado was good enough to play in the college football playoff. I think if you'd have put BYU in or Iowa State in, I think they'd have been fine. Arizona State, but for that call, I think those 3 teams, and I'm stretching with BYU.
Right.
And I think I'm probably stretching based on Iowa State's games and their flow of last year. I'm not even sure Iowa State belongs there.
But again, you look at this league, with all due respect to the Big 12, and I'm a huge proponent of Brett Yormark and his abilities as a commissioner. This league should not be putting in more than 2 teams to the college football playoff. Mainly because the league is not deep enough to justify that.
Yeah.
Right? And I just think that pisses people off. So then, let me put a bow around this so we can get to the comment section. Then we fast forward to the PR, back and forth in the public eye war going on between the SEC and everybody else. And you listen to Greg Sankey talk about how, hey, I'm trying to push things forward. And I'm not really getting a lot of solutions from everybody else. I'm getting a bunch of complaining and a bunch of negativity. And I don't want to hear your media releases and all that. I'm telling you, this war of Greg Sankey can come out here with a massive stick and beat you over the head with it when you haven't really said anything. This is the problem for the Big 12 and the ACC.
I don't need lectures from others about good of the game. I don't lecture others about good of the game. And coordinating press releases about good of the game. Again, okay, you can issue your press statement, but I'm actually looking for ideas to move us forward.
He's not about press releases.
So then the natural reaction obviously would have been, hey, well, Brett Yormark is clearly going to react to that, right? No. No, Brett's not going to react. His vice president of communication and strategy is going to retweet Thamel and say there was no press release from the Big 12, let alone a coordinated one with the ACC.
Which, great, and I'm not trying to be hard on the Big 12. Greg Sankey never said that the Big 12 and the ACC had a coordinated press release. He never said that. He said, I'm not going to, Greg Sankey's point is, I act, I don't talk. I don't coordinate and make statements in the media. Because I think Brett Yormark doesn't need a press release. Sit in front of a camera, and the guy is compelling as hell.
Yeah.
When he's talking about the college football playoff last year, or, the logos. What's the standard? Are we selecting it based on logos?
Yeah, the committee's about logos, not records.
Yeah, he doesn't need to make a press release. I'm not even certain that Greg Sankey was talking about Brett Yormark in the Big 12 and the ACC. I think he was much more talking about other schools. I think he was much more talking about Boise State, for instance, or
Mm-hmm.
Greg Sankey doesn't need your approval. And I think it is fascinating to me if you watch the way they are moving. And if you're new to the show, and I know we have a lot of new viewers seemingly on a daily basis on this show. 1, please hit the like button. 2, please subscribe. But if you go back and look at our content on this, I will continue to tell you, Greg Sankey's not talking about the College Football Super League. He is talking about the very survival of college football. He's not, in my opinion, a guy, and he has said this 100 times, and I'm certain you think I'm fanboying over Greg Sankey. I'm not. But go back and listen to what he actually talks about. Greg Sankey has never talked about eliminating anyone. Greg Sankey wants you to do everything you can do to win every single game you play. It's my biggest complaint in the Big 12. I point to it almost every day, I feel like, when Oak State James shows up wearing purple for TCU. I say every day.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
You can't cut the head coach's salary and then say, well, we did that because we can't afford NIL.
Well, I think
you can't do that and call yourself a winner.
Yeah, and I think this harkens back to the old Kobe was a bad teammate narrative, right? Everyone said, well, Kobe's an asshole.
Mike, too.
Mike's an asshole. These guys are terrible teammates, and they're just out for themselves. But the reality is like you were saying, right? They might have been the jerk in the locker room, but the reality was they were trying to get the most out of you to get to the highest, best result possible.
And they won.
And so, the obvious and clear difference is that those guys were individual athletes and they had the ability to go out and affect change in a much more effective way. Whereas Greg is out here trying to pull along, hundreds of people. I mean, if we're being honest, like obviously you've got the 3 other commissioners, but beyond them, you've got these presidents and, all these people.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where this lands and how all this plays out. But I'm going to tell you, Greg Sankey's never going to say the word Super League. But if you don't think that the Big Ten and the SEC are looking for the quickest, most effective avenue to not be involved with the NCAA anymore for football, you're out of your mind. And if you are the Big 12 and the ACC and the membership of that, you should be looking for the quickest exit from the NCAA. It is as simple as that. You need a new entity where you can drive new revenue, you can have less oversight and less rules regarding who gets paid and how it gets, and you can make your own rules.
Yeah.
You have the President of the United States on board for significant change. It can't wait 6 years. I continue to tell people this. You look at what's going on in this country right now. Now is the time to make change. Now is the time to do it. You don't like it. It's not comfortable. Now is the time to do it because this is when it can get done.
Yeah.
And you got to figure it out. It is very difficult, in my opinion. It is very difficult to figure out how to make seismic, never-before-seen changes to a game like college football when you have so many people wearing their heart on their sleeve who have no idea what they're talking about. Just no idea what they're talking about. You look at most of the schools in the Big 10, the ACC, and the Big 12 have no idea what winning looks like. They don't know. Is there anybody here who believes that Northwestern's doing everything they can do to win every single football game?
Nope. But by that same question, is there anybody who believes the Big 10 gives a damn about whether Northwestern wins or loses?
I don't think so.
No, they probably don't because they want the big brands to win in that conference. And again, I'm just bringing that up to say the SEC doesn't care about big brands because they already have the biggest brands. That is why they are, from top to bottom, the best conference in college football. And it is the key difference. It is Greg Sankey and company don't have to worry about, well, gosh, we're BYU. I mean, if we lose one game, our season's over. We don't got to worry about that. The question is not 1, it's 3. And again, if you go and look at what Kalen DeBoer said, dude, Kalen DeBoer is like, hey, why don't you look at our schedule and then ask us how we feel about being left out of the college football playoff? like the schools in the SEC are pissed. Like, Lane Train and Kalen DeBoer and all these dudes not getting in who were fringe teams by SEC standards. They're upset about it. So no, they're not going to play 9 conference games. And yes, at some point you're going to have to come along and make concessions.
And again, I go back to the loser athletic director, who's the worst chair of the college football playoff selection committee we've ever seen. Embarrassment last year, just not considering strength of schedule at all. Because I don't know how else you would describe how it is that they seed those teams and how, just mysteriously, Penn State got a free ride while Ward Manuel's biggest rival had the most difficult path anybody has ever seen to a college football championship and kicked the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
It's the single greatest college football championship we've ever seen won. And you want to argue against strength of schedule. And you want to argue against P4 victories. Hey, how many power conference teams did you beat? What is your strength of schedule? And those two are different, but inextricably, without question, married to each other because of Greg Sankey's 1 versus 66, 65 versus 66. Like, the strength of schedule matters. Because if you're in the SEC, you're playing top 20 teams every week. If you're in the Big 10, Big 12, and ACC, you simply are not.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. All right. Let's get your comments in here. Grad Slacker, first one in today. Good to see you, sir. TJ Beck, hello. Good to see you. Welcome to the Nightmare. Hello. Dana Marie, hello. Dana says, and Sankey gives no F's about what anyone else says or does.
No.
And I encourage you to live your life that way. I'm serious. When Dana says Greg Sankey does not care what you think, what does that give him? Freedom, flexibility. He doesn't have to worry about hurting your feelings. You need to apply that to about 99.9% of the people in your life.
I don't give a baker's fuck.
Comparison's the thief of joy. When you start worrying about what everybody thinks about what you think, you're never going to be a free thinker. Matt Ritson, hello. Grad Slacker, still no word on Mountain West PAC mediation. No, there is not.
Yeah, you're damn right the clock's ticking.
No, there is not. And we have 4 days left. 4 days left.
I'm telling you. And we're not, today's show's not about that. We will get into that later in the week, obviously. Dude, 4 days left. And really, let's stop being generous. 3 days and, I don't know, Pacific time, 3 hours, 4 hours. If, again, I'm just making assumptions here.
Yep.
If you're just going by standard business operating hours, I'm assuming that this isn't something we're working on after hours unless you're the legal teams. So, I'm just saying, dude, you've been going at this for 6-8 months and you finally started mediation. Now you're down to 4 days and you're down to 3 days and 3 hours by business standards. So again,
they're last week, from what I understand, last week they worked, the teams worked long into the night. And I think it's going to be very difficult. This was never going to be a quick process. I think some of the, people that are routinely knee padding the Pac-12 thought that this would be, we're not paying. Okay, good. Let us survive. Like the Pac-12 is going to walk in there and the world was going to revolve around them.
No, I guess not.
It didn't quite work that way. We're a week into mediation now. Obviously, there was a holiday. They worked a shorter day on Friday. Did not work yesterday. Let's see what happens, because I have to think it's this week or bust, because every exiting member of the Mountain West has to submit that letter essentially by Saturday close of business.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Hey, Shouty.
Hey, y'all.
Delaric, I thought Benjamin Franklin was the devil. Is he not? Oh, it's Greg Sankey. Do we read non-member comments today?
Sure. Don't be an idiot. Okay. I really, we've had a nice open to the show. Like, the energy's good. Don't mess it up. Okay.
Sven Kreuzberg, who is a Mississippi State fan. The only thing what Money Puppy Sankey does is ruin college football.
Who the fuck is that guy?
So now he's a money puppy. Play on with 40 playoff. You mean, I don't know what you mean. With 40 teams and leave the other 90 to behind like worthless ballists. Okay. And by the way, is Sankey playing March Madness without NCAA or a College World Series? What does that have to do with the college football universe? I said this 10 minutes ago. Why is it that people can't understand that because college football breaks away from the NCAA into its own entity, that it leaves all the other sports intact and unchanged? What is it that we're struggling to connect the dots on? What happens in the stick and ball sports, track and field, diving, swimming, skiing, every other sport you want to point to, soccer certainly, that has nothing to do with college football going into a different universe. And what I think people really don't understand is if you take college football out of the NCAA ecosystem into a new entity on its own, as I think we exclusively reported, and now everybody has coattailed us, they play by a different set of rules. They don't have to worry about continuing lawsuits because they play by their own set of rules. They will be insulated. And the other thing that I think you need to understand is private money, whether you want it to be or not, is here. That private money will power whatever this new entity is because it has to. And if college football makes more money, who else makes more money? Everybody.
Yep.
Because college football makes everything else possible. When you win big college football games, and again, Sven, I don't know you. I think this is the first time I've ever seen you here. But clearly you're an anti-Sankey guy, which is fine. When college football teams win big, they get better professors. They get more donors. They get better facilities. And I don't mean IPFs, and I mean academic buildings. They get more research money unless you're Harvard. Harvard. You get more medical school money. All because you're winning football games. And I understand that you don't want change. Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
It is. The Pontiff.
Hey, big Pontiff.
Pope is here.
Oh.
If Sankey is running your conference, he is your favorite guy. If he isn't, you hate him. Truth. 100%. The big Lubbock. What's up? Joseph Harper. College football has become so much like the pros transfer portal is like free agency and has become like any other sport. You have the haves and the have-nots. But again, I understand that we don't know, that we have no idea what we're talking about. And we're stupid. And I totally get all of that.
Right.
But if I go back and I look at what have we said on this show, I think I have told you 100 times. The moment that we stop letting human beings decide who plays for the championship of college football, aren't we all in a much better place? Right? I think I have said this 100,000 million times.
Right. Got to let it play out on the field.
So when Ross Dellinger, who was at the SEC spring meetings, tweets a quote this afternoon from Scott Strickland, the athletic director at Florida. Here, let me paraphrase what Scott Strickland said. We've got to stop letting people select who plays in the college football playoff.
My word.
Scott Strickland, a committee is not ideal to choose a postseason. That I question whether it's appropriate for college football. How long have I been saying human beings can't be the reason that you got left out or that you barely got in? The championship of college football will be on Saturday. Super Bowl Sunday will be that next Sunday, that next day, maybe that next weekend. You know what I've said on this show. The NFL and college football are very close partners. They have no choice but to be.
Yeah.
One is the minor league for the other. So do you really think that college football is going to continue to let a jackwagon embarrassment imbecile completely ignore selection criteria and give Penn State a free route? You think that's going to continue? No, it's not. You won the game, you're in. Oh, you lost the game, you're out. It's as simple as that. And I can continue to tell you that, but now you got an athletic director at Florida saying a committee is not ideal to choose a postseason. So when we hear from Greg Sankey saying, hey, I really need some solutions here. I want to move this forward. You should listen.
I don't need lectures from others about good of the game. I don't lecture others about good of the game. And coordinating press releases about good of the game. Again, okay, you can issue your press statement, but I'm actually looking for ideas to move us forward.
So are you really so self-absorbed in the Big 12 and the ACC that you think he's talking about you? You think he's talking about you? Nah, I'm going to say he's not, but it's fine. Big Blue Horses. Sankey only interest is the SEC. I totally disagree with that. He has been crowned king through fiat. He didn't build the SEC. Media and Saban did that. Well, I think the SEC was here long before Nick Saban was.
Here, let me straighten that out.
Hold on. All he had to do was sit back and ride the wave. Oh, and don't screw it up. You're out of your mind.
Dude, come on. He rode the wave? Yeah, you mean the wave that he created? Right? I mean, how much winning has this guy done since becoming commissioner?
I am amazed. I am amazed that you look at Greg Sankey and you look at his bio and you start to understand that he became the commissioner of the SEC in 2015. Do you understand what the last 10 years have been like for the SEC? Do you think he deserves no credit for that? He just, we should, luck.
Hey, you guys remember when the college football playoff was born? You remember what year that was?
I mean,
oh yeah, that was 2014. So this guy didn't invent the college football playoff. But what he did do, and go look at the numbers, what he did do is dominate that thing.
I am amazed that when you look at revenue by year, do you see the money this conference has made since he became commissioner? Do you understand that just from in 2020, 2021, they made $706.7 million. 21, 22, 741. 23, $852 million. Fiscal year 24, which is 2023-24, they made $840 million. Is he not responsible for the ABC ESPN deal?
Come on.
Was he the one that negotiated an embarrassingly low number with CBS?
Does he deserve no credit for the fact that they haven't had a Florida State level meltdown in the conference? Come on.
Come on. And when you start looking at, if I have to explain what Greg Sankey has done, come on. That's crazy. Big Pontiff, I never understood why the other divisions play the same rules as others. Pack ate itself alive for years. How many teams went to the Palouse and died? USC on its own is a great example of that. Delaric, 8 conference games with a conference championship game is fine, but if you do away with the conference champions, then I would want to see 9 games. I don't think conference championship games are going away. They won't be weighted.
Yeah.
They won't be weighted. And I think that's the right thing to do. I think if you are, if you are certainly the SEC, but if you're the Big Ten and you have behemoths like Ohio State and Oregon playing in conference championship games and they lose that game, they shouldn't get eliminated, right? You can't do that. I think you want to crown them because you need the trophy in the photo op, and you want kids to win championships and schools to make money and sell conference championship T-shirts and tickets and hot dogs for those huge events. Because if the conference championship is meaningless, who's going to want to play in that? So I think it still has to be relevant financially, and it has to be meaningful, but it can't keep you in or knock you out of a playoff. To me, that can't happen. That cannot happen. Let's see. Sven says Indiana was better as 90% of the rest of what? Do you guys really think you guys are you still on this? Are you still on this track that the Big Ten is a better football conference than the SEC?
You can't be serious that you're saying that Indiana's schedule was better than, because we're interpreting your comment here, because obviously it wasn't, but it seems to me that you're saying that Indiana was better than 90% of either the Big Ten or of college football teams. Is that what you mean?
Well, Indiana being better than 90% of college football teams ain't saying much.
Okay, what has he said here again? What is it?
He said Indiana was better as 90% of the rest.
Okay, let's say that means not better than 90% of the Big Ten. I disagree with that too. You're not better than Ohio State. You're not better than Oregon. I would contend that you're not better than Penn State.
You're certainly not better than Oregon.
You're
not better than Ohio State. You're not better than Notre Dame, who completely handled you.
But technically not a Big Ten team,
right? But I mean, if we're looking at even just the teams you played,
yeah.
You went to the Big House. I don't. No, that game was at Indiana, Michigan, Indiana. Was at Indiana. You went, the road game was Ohio State. You got blown out.
Yeah, that wasn't competitive.
You got blown out. Listen, man, I'm not trying to tell you that Greg Sankey's perfect, but this idea that Greg Sankey is somehow a villain, I agree with what the Pontiff said. If you're an SEC fan, you don't view him as that.
No.
You don't. And I think it is, it is what it is. For more context from Scott Strickland about committee and human beings.
And by the way, I'm not sure if you and Scott talk, but I think he stole this from you. I could be wrong here.
So I think anything we can do to make the postseason more objective and less subjective is going to be better. Whether you could do that some other way than automatics, I don't know, but I think that's the goal.
Bro.
That's the goal.
Come on, dude.
Win the game, you're in. Lose the game, you're out.
Pretty easy.
It's as simple as that. The Super League is not only... I think a Super League is good for college football. I think this Florida State 2 years ago, everybody in the SEC this year getting left behind, that's a problem. And when I look at people like Texas A&M has every reason to be considered one of the elite teams in college athletics. Trev Alberts is a hell of an administrator. They got to win football games now. You cannot lose to Notre Dame at home.
Yeah.
Right? They've got to win football games. And if I look in the Big Ten, USC's got to win football games. Because who do you really count on in that league? You count on Oregon. If it's today, May 27, 2025, I count on Oregon. I count on the Bucks. I count on, I think USC has to be there. I think Penn State has to be there.
Count on them for CFP appearances.
For winning games and going to the college football playoff.
Okay, yeah. I think that the Big Ten now after this year, it's Oregon, and Penn State. Those are the three. I think the huge question mark sitting over Michigan right now makes it so you're just not sure. Like in a normal time, you probably lean on Michigan. But if the question is how does the Big Ten get level with the SEC in terms of depth, you need USC to perform. You need Indiana not to be a one-hit wonder. You need the Nebraskas of the world. It'd be nice to stop talking about looking like Patrick Mahomes and start talking about actually going to the college football playoff.
I would agree.
Right. So if you're the Big Ten, that's how, as a conference, you start to push towards, hey, we're not just three teams. We can actually, deepen to 6-7 opportunities.
Sven says, I'm out of here. Sorry, guys. You're talking nonsense. On one hand, I think you meant on one hand, you're saying Indiana doesn't belong, and you don't say one word about Texas, what had a way worse schedule. You got to work on your typing, bro. And didn't beat a single ranked team. Okay, I can't help you.
Yeah, he can't help you, dude.
So the Texas A&M game, Texas A&M wasn't ranked in that game. You're telling me that beating Vanderbilt, a top 25 team, that doesn't matter. Beating number 10 Michigan doesn't matter. On the road at Michigan, that doesn't matter. And you're saying they have a way worse schedule? What schedule are you talking about when they thumped number 18 Oklahoma? And their two losses last year in the regular season, one was the championship game. They lost to Georgia. Another was, that's right, they lost to number 5 Georgia. And we're supposed to believe that that's not as difficult as a schedule as Indiana? Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, what are you looking at? You really think that Indiana played a better schedule than Texas? Like, how am I? They beat the ACC champion Clemson. They beat the Big 12 champion, double overtime, penalty. Okay.
Doesn't matter. You won the game.
They won the game. So they beat 2 conference champions in the playoff. Are you crazy? Notre Dame sleptwalked through Indiana at the stadium. We didn't even have to work hard. I don't think we needed to lift weights that week to beat Indiana. And somehow you think Indiana's... This is where I can't help you. You want to...
Okay, it's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, you're out of your mind.
Have a nice day, Sven.
Yeah. I appreciate you commenting and interacting, but that's one of the most uninformed. That or you're just being a troll because you hate Greg Sankey. You can't cut the head coach's salary without at least trimming the mullet, which is my point. You're saving money. You can't afford a pair of clippers to cut his mullet. I mean, I can send Jay Toffa to Stoolwater. We got the barber that can do the job.
I can get you, so.
I can listen, man. I can get you a high fade. Sir. We can turn that mullet into a high fade today.
But listen, the money you're going to save on the hair product isn't covering NIL, okay?
Major letdown. Playing non-conference games is a good move if you're a 20-team league, and only then. I agree, because you and I both know that the bottom half of that league, the Big Ten, is going to be Garbo. And you should win the majority of those games. If I'm the SEC, I'm not playing 9 games unless they expand the playoff. I'm not doing it. Poncho Cornwallis. Okay.
Okay, listen. Sven struck out. So now you're second in the lineup for non-members. Don't mess it up, dude. Come on.
Happy Yaxel Lendeborg to Michigan Day.
What the fuck are you talking about? What does that mean?
For those who celebrate.
Okay, wait, no, you got to Google this. What the hell does that mean? What is it?
Yaxel. Okay, fuck. Here we go. Hey, Siri. What is Yaxel Lendeborg to Michigan Day?
and on3.com.
Yaxel Lendeborg is a basketball player who transferred from UAB to Michigan. He is considered one of the top players in the transfer portal.
Wow, man.
Okay.
Dude, I just, how did we not know about buddy named Yaxel? Wow. Okay.
And I agree. You should talk Michigan basketball because you ain't got nothing to say about Michigan football. Big Ten, SEC, and Notre Dame are clearly top. I would agree with that. Daniel Dixon, he likes the state of Iowa. What happens if Congress finally steps in? Well, Donnie, I think it's pretty clear that Donnie has an appetite to put things on his resume.
It's like an act of Congress.
And if you're able to, that was pretty funny. If you're able to get the college football playoff canceled and you move college football into its own entity with antitrust exemption, I'm going to say that goes on your resume.
Google me.
You know, stadium guy James. You guys hate me. I don't understand it. James, I hope you had a great weekend. Greg Sankey is a good leader. He has a vision for the future. That is why he has so much influence in college football. If I were Brett Yormark, I would be on the phone with Sankey to see how they can work together. Brett Yormark and Greg Sankey have regular conversations. And I think I've said this on the show, and every time I say it, it's like I invented fire. But the 4 conference commissioners are not enemies. They are colleagues. They work together on a regular basis. They meet by phone and have conversations on a regular basis. Weekly, if not more. Good to see you, James. Kay Sumbry. What's up, my guy? Good to see you. Willie, Northwestern is building a new stadium. I know, Oak State James told us that.
New Shower Olympics going
Ryan
on,
Field.
or what are we doing?
You know, the funny thing is, you guys, about Ryan Field at Northwestern, I used to live like 2 blocks from there. I was looking at it on Google Earth yesterday, and I saw the old Catholic church that turned me into a heathen.
Oh, dear.
I cannot tell you how many.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
I must have stole more grape juice, the blood of Christ, than any other altar boy in the country.
Don't touch me there. That, sir, is my no square.
Yeah, and screw the Pope. He's a White Sox fan. David Persons for $2. Luck, Monty Darth Sankey is your father. Luke, he meant.
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if I'm being too positive about Greg Sankey, my bad. I don't think I am. Dude. You cannot come in here and not say dude. Gumby. But Monty. No, but Monty's.
But Monty.
But Monty, this is why Gumby's a Hall of Famer on this show.
That's right.
When you start it with But Monty, the meat rollers at Northwestern haven't been cleaned since Lloyd Carr. Every time I hear the name Lloyd, I think of Entourage, and I just want to yell Lloyd. Poncho Cornwallis, Northwestern's new stadium is $850 million. They are just treading water until that is ready. I would agree with that. We'll see. It is what it is. Group of 5 should have to play 2 power teams a year. Group of 5 should have their own championship.
Yeah. Let's not even get us started on that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with understanding who you are and where you are. If you cannot compete financially with the top of college football, you shouldn't be trying to compete financially with the top of college football. There are very few G5 teams. Boise State be damned. Because I'm not even convinced Boise State can. There are very few G5 teams who can compete in football financially. Very few. It's very difficult to do. Okie Light. Every Big 12 team to leave for the SEC has slid into the same tier. I'm not convinced that the 4th best SEC team is better than the 2nd or 3rd best Big 12 team. Strength of schedule is skewed by preseason metrics. Okay. Let's
play the game.
Let's sword fight. I'm happy to play the game. The top, and let me just make sure I got it right what he said. I'm not convinced the fourth best SEC team. Last season, the fourth best team in the SEC was the Alabama Crimson Tide. 5-3 in conference. 9-4 in the regular season. And if you look at their schedule, their big win, very clearly Georgia. So they beat the number 2 team in the country, Georgia. They lost to number 11 Tennessee, beat number 21 Missouri, beat number 15 LSU, beat Mercer, lost to Oklahoma, beat Auburn, lost to Michigan.
Nick Saban is a better man than you are.
Okay. So the number 4 team, Alabama, you're not convinced they're better than the second and third best Big 12 team. So right out the gate, let me just ask you, do you think that BYU was capable of physically competing against Alabama? I watched pretty much every snap of BYU football last year multiple times and watched a whole lot of Alabama. I
don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, baby.
Greenbow never mind. Roll Tide Willie, I think, would disagree with you. But I would say that Alabama would physically handle BYU last year. And my biggest question is, especially in the second half of the season, could BYU's secondary stay with Alabama's wide receiver talent? And the answer is no.
No.
What about Iowa State, who was not nearly as good defensively as BYU? I think the Alabama defense would have had a field day with Rocco Becht in that offense. Because I think that Iowa State, when I look at the games that Iowa State played last year of consequence, they did not play a team that was even remotely similar to Alabama. They barely beat Iowa last year in a game that we talked at length about. And then after that, did not play a ranked team until November 30th against K-State. And then Arizona State, who absolutely knocked the crap out of Iowa State. And my guess is that Arizona State is the only team in that conference that I think could have handled Alabama.
I don't even know that handled's the right word. I competed with at most.
I think that Arizona State team was very physical up front.
Yeah.
And it was a big tip in the cap. But listen, I have no dog in the fight. I'm a Notre Dame fan. We didn't belong in the championship, but here nor there. I'm telling you now, Alabama would win the Big 12 championship last year. They would have won the Big 12 championship. If they play, here is Iowa State's schedule. Put Alabama into this schedule. North Dakota at Iowa, Arkansas State at Houston, Baylor at West Virginia, UCF, Texas Tech at Kansas, Cincinnati at Utah, K-State, Arizona State. Alabama goes undefeated against that schedule. I mean, you look at, and this is what I'm trying to tell Baylor fan, for instance, because Baylor fan is telling me, oh, Monty, look at the second half. But Monty, okay, let's but Monty Baylor's schedule. Right? If we but Monty Baylor's schedule, I should stop saying that. Here's Baylor's schedule. Right? They got off to a 2-4 start. Good. Tarleton State win. At Utah, not close. They lost that game. Air Force win. Colorado lost and completely fell apart doing so. Lost to BYU. Lost at Iowa State. And then here are their wins. You tell me the quality win here. At Texas Tech, not a good team last year. At Oak State, one of the worst teams in the country last year. Or home for Oak State, worst team in the country last year. TCU 37-34, it was a shootout. They win that game. At West Virginia, bad football team. fired their coach. At Houston, rebuilding football team. Kansas. Okay, but Monty, they're one of the best teams in the country. Okay, so what happened then? Best team in the country. Sawyer Robertson, he's going deep on your mom. Like, best quarterback in the conference. Who'd they play in that bowl game? Anybody remember? LSU. Anybody remember the final score of that game? I do. 44-31.
Stay hard.
And you're trying to convince me somehow that Alabama would not win the Big 12 championship. You are out of your mind. Eric Wasikowski. Bro, is this like a new Wasikowski?
Do we have an imposter here? Or
okay.
Oh, this is probably a new email for Eric.
Did you get blocked, Eric?
He got
Did you
banned.
No, seriously, did you get filtered? Tell me what happened. Big Blue Horses, a member for 19 months.
Yeah.
Go Gator. He's a huge Gator fan. Always good to lock horns. Thanks, guys. Go Gators. No, thank you.
Go Gators with your POS president, Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Santa, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't trip and fall in the glades, bruh. I don't know.
The glades.
Damian Fowler, a member for 19 months.
Yeah.
Yes, but Monty. No, but Monty.
My fucking ass.
My guy. Oh, that's so good, Damian. Appreciate you being here. Phil Benzer, how are you, bud? As long as these Power 4 schools get that TV rev, they won't be motivated to win. I think there's a lot in that.
Yeah.
I do. Shouting. Coach Prime really needs to win the Big 12. Yeah, that way I'll stop coughing. Yeah, I agree. He does need to win that.
Do you believe?
Johnny Gonzalez. If almost beating teams meant anything, the Big 12 would be where the SEC is currently. Wow, that is such a jerk thing to say, but very true. All right, here comes the float for almost beat somebody. I mean,
here comes the float for Oklahoma State almost winning a ball game this year.
Yeah, Okie Light. If you look at last year only, I think the Big 12 was down, but year over year, I do believe the Big 12 can compete. I think last year was one of the worst years we've seen in the Big 12 in some time.
100%.
You're not going to get this from Utah and Oklahoma State often. Let's not even get into Oklahoma State.
Yeah, let's not get lost.
You're not going to have two brands like that down. My biggest concern is, what am I going to, because I think, again, Texas is the heartbeat of this conference. What am I going to get from TCU? What am I going to get? Like, has there ever been a better, more well-positioned Texas Tech football team? I don't recall ever. Right? Even when we were locking kids in the Connex box. I don't ever recall. I said locking.
Well, Monty, can you go to the Connex box and get the left-handed footballs, Monty?
Mike Leach locked a kid in the Connex box, allegedly. Like, what the? Anyway, have we ever had a more well-positioned Texas Tech team? And then I go back to Baylor, and I know I'm alone in this. I think Baylor is one of the frauds of this conference last year. They beat up on some really bad football teams. And I think 8-Ball is not a guy that's going to lead you to a championship. And I will again tell you, if we look at the Baylor Bears in 2025, is this a schedule to go undefeated on? Auburn at SMU, Samford, Arizona State at Oak State, Kansas State at TCU, at Cincinnati, UCF, Utah, at Arizona, and Houston. That is a 1 or 2 loss team. Period. That's it. That's the entirety of the statement. If they lose more than one, if they lose 2 games, you're like, if they lose 3 games, you got to fire Dave Aranda. Because that's one of the easiest schedules in the conference, right? I look at Utah. Make or break year for Witt, right? This is it. This is the beginning and the end. You win the conference, Witt keeps coaching. You have another 50-50 season. Do you think the voices are loud now in this town? At UCLA, Cal Poly, at Wyoming, Texas Tech, and what is sure to be one of the games of the year in the conference. And I remind you, that's week 4. At West Virginia, Arizona State, at BYU, Colorado, Cincinnati, at Baylor, K-State, at Kansas.
It's not an easy schedule.
That's probably a 3-loss schedule. I mean, Texas Tech in week 4 in Salt Lake City, you should win that game. You should win that game. I think Utah at home has one of the best home field advantages in all of college football. You're at altitude. I'm guessing that game's going to be at night. We've all seen Joey McGuire, zero blitz in Laramie. Laramie ain't that far from Salt Lake City, bro. Trust me. That's going to be a huge game. I agree with you. I don't believe that this conference will stay down long. But Chaboy in Stillwater, Mike Gundy's got to have it, and I just don't think he does.
I'm a man.
I don't think he does. Welcome to the nightmare. The Big 12 was really down last year. I don't think that will continue going forward. I don't either.
We'll see.
Fight on natties. You guys going to win this year?
Yeah, you're out here talking junk about Prime. Your boy's not exactly producing, bro.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley ain't in his prime. Ho ho!
Yeah, Buddy should try to figure out how to put Penn State away. Then you can talk junk about Prime.
Deion isn't a coach. He's a used car salesman. Is there a team in the country that got more out of their players last year than Colorado? Is there a coaching staff that's more well-prepared than that coaching staff? Were the game plans bad? He's a used... Come on, man. Done for the day afternoon, fellas. Jeremiah Champion.
Yeah.
Jeremiah drives and legitimately, and I appreciate you for this, he drives a trash truck through one of the roughest neighborhoods in Tampa, Florida. And every day he shows up here and he's like, life is good. I mean, he smells after his job, but you know, he's actually not. He's actually a school teacher. He's not.
I was like, wait, did I confuse that?
Did you buy? You were. Okay, I give up. The Big Lubbock, Joey's opening games of the last 2 years lost in OT at what? Man, I yelled.
No. He didn't lose in OT. Let's make sure we're coming correct on this.
He gave that away.
Yeah, Buddy said, okay, here's the game. Here's a nice little box. And hey, assistant coach over here, can you bring me the Texas Tech covered wrapping paper? Let's just go ahead and hand this over to Wyo with that dumbass zero blitz call in the end zone.
Where were we watching that game?
My God. I don't remember.
Weren't we watching in LA or something? I was so pissed. Oh my God.
It was just, they had it.
It was over. And then it goes, and then the zero blitz and oh my God, the Abilene game. Abilene. Those are, damn kids are all friends and there's, who cares? It's Abilene. It's Abilene.
Freaking dog.
High school football legend, my ass.
You gave up 50 to Abilene.
And you probably should have lost that game. You guys remember that? Well, Tech fans do. You guys remember the Abilene Tech game? Oh my God.
The box on that real quick. I thought you said you gave up 50.
Abilene,
bro. What?
And it was, and I was saying that so the Abilene box score. Let me get it real quick. 52-51 in overtime. Baron Morton threw for 7,000 yards that night.
Vexes me.
Baron Morton 30 of 42, 378 and 5 scores, and you damn near lost the game. Maverick McIver 36 of 51, 506.
How the fuck else would you do this job?
Averaged 10 yards of completion, 3 touchdowns.
Bro.
You gave up. I mean, just stupidity. Like, I
Physiologically, it's a non-starter.
So let me get this right. You couldn't stop the run and you couldn't stop the pass. Other than that, you guys were amazing that night.
Man, great job on offense, fellas. 52 points. Hey, defense, you guys suck.
Hey, assholes.
Yeah.
You
guys are Garbo.
And then you turn around. That's right. You turn around and lost to Washington State. Do you know how many big performances Baron Morton's had and they've lost? It is amazing. And giving up 59 to Baylor. Oh my God. Like, please. I don't even. Why did you have to bring up Abilene? Abilene. Baylor was not a bad team, but they got lucky with some teams that were bad. That was not supposed to be. Should have lost. Should have been 7-6 at best, but more likely 6-7.
Well,
hey,
you know, when you end a quarterback's career, you know, some of those good teams you were playing, they're not so good anymore. So, you know, give them credit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Dean is the Don King of college football. If that means, then Don King puts guys in the NFL and almost won the Big 12 last year. Great portal class, great recruiting class. Yeah.
Unbelievers.
Arguably the best coaching staff in college football. Don King's doing a great job in Boulder. You know, and if that's true, I want Don King as my coach too. I was lost too. Look, you're in Tampa driving a garbage truck. Well, there's some days in that classroom you'd like to be.
You still smell, but it's fine.
Yeah, and you do still smell. Ain't no trophies or belts for off-season champs. Portal mean nada unless it translates onto the field.
Yeah, and the big pond if telling you what it is.
Yeah, wear a cup.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. ACC West Coast Commissioner Gumby. Abilene. One of the best names in all of college sports. Abilene. It is truly amazing. All right, Prize Picks, so the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Oh, look at that. Apple Card says get Uber One free for 6 months using Apple Pay. Okay.
Yeah, screw you.
Okay. You guys, we have to talk about a really, really, really mediocre weekend on Prize Picks. And listen, I think you guys know Pete Crow Armstrong's the single greatest baseball player that's ever lived.
I don't think that anyone cares about PCA. I think all they want to know is how you did on your lost cause known as the Knicks. How did you do with the Knicks?
You know, I'm just trying to do Prize Picks.
I'm going to get medieval on your ass.
And then people have to bring up that they want to call the Knicks a lost cause.
Listen, since Ladad went out of the playoffs, I know the Knicks have been your team.
And I'm going to tell you, as a switch,
Look, Gary,
I'm not going to say
easy, bro.
I'm not going to say I'm a switch hitter because you all know where that's going to go. But my point
Yes, you did.
My point is,
it's
am
okay.
not going to hit you with this,
you can knee pad the Knicks. It's all right, dude.
But why won't you admit you were wrong about the Knicks?
Because I'm not wrong yet.
Yeah, you are.
It's one game.
You pronounced them dead already.
They are dead.
No, they have I watch ER. Trust me, you're not dead until your heart and your brain are dead.
They got the shock pads on, but he's not dead yet, Monty.
And they're doing lavage. Don't get me wrong. But you can't tell me they're dead. You saw they're dead. Look, Chubbs, it's over. Yeah, it turns out it's not over. Because the Knicks, one of the best road teams in the NBA playoffs, when they're trailing by 20, because they're pretty shitty when they're leading, but when they're down 20, the Knicks are lethal.
Yeah.
They went to Indiana, got down 20, and a certain somebody got disappointed.
Yeah.
So, see, like you bring it up and I don't understand, like, who hurt you?
I'm just telling you.
Who hurt you? Okay.
Just telling you. Lost cause, bro.
That's
anyway.
right. The Cubs are playing the Rockies, so it's blacked out. I can't watch it. Let me get this
Yeah,
right.
There's a lot on TV.
I pay for home plate.
Excuse me. Extra innings.
Thank you. I pay for extra innings. I'm a season ticket holder in Mesa and in Chicago.
Abilene, not in
but
Abilene.
not in Abilene. And I can't watch every Cub game.
No.
I would like to thank Mayar and we, the beloved, the Cubs of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it was very interesting that Jamison Tyon's strikeout number was 4.5. I took more. He struck out 7. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle, I'm going to get way overpaid, and Tank is a pretty lackluster white guy in the outfield who stretches a lot.
Lackluster white guy.
Yeah. Can I just tell you that he's the guy that goes to hot yoga and he's like, oh man, that was a hell of a workout. And you're going to pay him like $50 million, which is fine. I would like to say that he had a hits, runs, and RBI number of 3.5 yesterday. Two RBIs and a hit. I needed 3.5, more or less. I took less and he came through at 3.
Okay.
And then because Jake is not a good person, he has routinely told me how good Anthony Edwards is. And that Anthony Edwards is a franchise player. And he had a 47.5 point rebound and assist number last night. No, we took less and we won because Ant's more worried about dominating the game. 3 for 3, 20 to win 170. Thank you very much. I would like to say anything you want to throw in there, any greatness, amazing, awesome comments you want to add.
No, I just, I'll be here for you when Indiana goes to the finals, and it's going to be great, dude. It's going to be just fine.
Don't they have to beat the Knicks before they go to the NBA finals?
Yes.
Have they done that yet?
No.
Okay. Well, then I would probably slow my roll a little bit. Douchebag.
I feel pretty comfortable.
Tyrese Halliburton tonight.
Yeah.
Has some interesting numbers for you. 8.5 3-pointers attempted. Will he attempt 9 3-pointers? He's done it 3 times in the last 5 games. 5, 10, 12, 10, 8. I think that's a tough one. But man, when I look at his points, rebounds, and assists at 39.5 on a demon, 35 on the regular. Do you like Tyrese Halliburton to have a big game tonight?
No. I think you want the truth? I think they're going to officiate the hell out of this in favor of the Knicks.
Oh God.
To help extend the series. So I would be
play the piano music then. Why is it about the official? Oh, the officials, they want a long series.
The Scott Foster, the great extender, officiated last game.
Yeah, that guy packs his foreskin.
Yeah, he's zinning
so
his
he
foreskin.
Can get through games.
Let me just look up. Let's see. Knicks, Pacers, officials.
Why don't you just search Knicks, Pacers, foreskin? You probably shouldn't do that.
No, I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, let's see.
I'm going to take Tyrese to go less than 35 points, rebounds, and assists. And then I think we have to go with the Wizard, Jalen MFing Brunson. 7, I think maybe 2.5 3-pointers made, I think is a good one. I'm going to go more than that. And then I think the other one I really like is Mikal Bridges. Mikal's got some pretty good numbers, and we all know the Knicks are going to dominate this game. Does Mikal Bridges get to the free throw line? He does not shoot a lot of free throws.
I would go field goals attempted. That's what I'm going with.
I think it's points and assists.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you like field goals attempted? What is
his numbers? 15.5, just regular number, not demon or goblin, regular number. And he has averaged 16.2 his last 5 games. In his last 2 games against Indiana, he had 18 both games.
I'm going to say something I promised you I'd never say again on this show. All right, Jake, let's do it.
Tomorrow on the Monty Show, Jake's getting beat over the head with a putter because he told him to go with that.
Well, what are we gonna? Are we gonna put some? Are we gonna put some bread on the Knicks and Pacers then? Because you just continue to talk mad junk about the Knicks. You pronounce them dead. You pronounce them. Cat. You pronounce them dead. You pronounce them dead repeatedly.
Listen.
And they continue to come back from the dead, even though Cat talks like this.
Crazy because after all that, they took him off the court to put him even closer to the locker room.
Better basketball conference than SEC or the Big East.
SEC.
Football.
What you mean? Oh my God, no longer! Are you serious right now, big dog?
This is what movies is made of.
This is what movies
This is what movies is made of. 4 months away, I come back, 2 free throws. Don't worry about it. I got that.
Bro, you funny as hell.
Yeah. Did you know I was gonna do it?
Bro, they asked me in media about you.
What? What?
They really did.
What the? Because outside looking in, like we was like, damn, it's total chaos in Minnesota right now. Like,
No, for sure.
it was like Jimmy versus Minnesota. Like, I said, let me take this charge real quick. That was probably the worst thing I ever could have done. That man fell right over me. You know, you ever see that? Just like a train ran over.
No
like,
grace.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, why did I do that? my dumb ass over here trying to take a charge of DeMarcus.
Oh my God.
God.
I was like, oh my God. Jake routinely, when I'm on something,
Stay hard.
he'll send me videos the opposite of that. Like I said the other night, Karl Anthony Towns, and he starts sending me videos. Oh my God.
But now, let me tell you what now.
Oh my God. Like you're just you're
The
just
zesty
such
king.
You're just such a hater. What is Zesty King?
Karl Anthony Towns.
Okay. I guess I don't get the millennial language. I'm just not hip to the cat.
So here's my stuff for Prize Picks tonight.
This ought to be rich.
Angel Reese. Less
God damn it.
12 and a half
Can we
points.
talk about her missing her first shot? I won
it's
her
incredible.
last game. I don't know if it's still a prop or not. If it is, I'm taking it.
In Prize Picks?
Yes. You
Wait,
can
they
get
have it?
Yes, you can get Angel Reese to the miss or make her first shot.
No way is this still a thing.
It is still a thing because she routinely misses her first shot.
Oh, where is it?
It is, let's see. It is, where's the they have Phoenix tonight, I think.
They do.
Angel Reese, 27 points, rebounds, and assists. You guys understand Angel Reese is having a historically bad offensive year. Like it's not. You cannot get, let me see if I can get it on Angel. You cannot anymore. Oh, that's brutal. That is brutal.
I took less than 12 and a half points.
You took less. What about 12 and a half rebounds?
No, she misses her shots. She rebounds the hell out of the ball because she misses so much.
Well, she's averaging 12 and a half rebounds.
I'm not
13.8 rebounds in her last 5 games.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to go less on rebounds. Anyway, so less than 12 and a half on Angel Reese, more than 15 and a half field goals attempted for Mikal Bridges, and more than 5.5 3-pointers attempted for the Zesty King.
Okay, I like it. Noel Ramirez for $5. Just checking if my comments were blocked.
Oh, God, here we go.
What did you do to get blocked? But here's a $5. Send it to Oklahoma State.
I'm going to guess he didn't get blocked and that's a straight up troll job.
You did not get blocked. That's right. Chucky B says Tim Donaghy entered the chat. Yes, he did. Oh, my God. It is amazing to me. It is amazing to me how much Nick hate is out there. Fight on, Natties. Pacers win by 6 tonight, so that race baiter Stephen A. Smith can cry and complain. You guys really like the Pacers to win tonight?
I don't.
Okay. So you're being serious, or are you just going to
I'm being serious.
Are you going to yank the rug out from underneath me?
No. I think the Knicks will win this game
tonight. God, no.
Because
why?
The officials.
No.
The officials.
Don't say that.
The officials.
Monty, listen. I got the Knicks tonight.
I'm telling you.
The Knicks are done. It's over.
I'm telling you.
It's over.
Oh, they're going to lose the series. There's no question about it.
Oh, but tonight,
it's going to be in 7.
No.
It's going to be in 7.
No, I don't want to hear this from you because that almost certainly means they're going to. What do you have on McDavid and the Oilers tonight?
Oh, no, they'll win. They're good. I have faith. They'll play better hockey.
Jake knows that Connor McDavid is like one of my favorite athletes on the planet. Like
how does someone not like Connor McDavid?
He is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And who are you, Oak State James, pronouncing like you're crowning Jake Retzloff here?
What do you mean?
Like, because James said that Jake Retzloff was going to be the best quarterback anybody's ever seen ever anywhere. And then all of a sudden, you know the story. Now, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, man, Monty, don't worry about it. Nick's got the win tonight. McDavid's going to win tonight. McDeasy and the Oilers. Cubs are going to win tonight. You're getting laid. Everything's going to be great. Oilers are going to lose. Knicks are going to lose. And I'm a virgin for like the rest of my life.
Well,
that's what this is telling you.
Sorry.
Your track record speaks for itself.
Sorry, Monty.
As does Calford, who gives 20 Monty Show members.
See, you just dropped.
I'll be over here.
Dropping stuff on me, you know.
Attaboy, Calford. Good to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure. I appreciate you dropping by. Sergeant Moore says, bruh.
That's what I say about Cat, dude.
Steve, the stadium guy, James. Even I thought Noel's comment about Oak State NIL was funny.
Yeah.
Well, as a TCU fan, you would. You would. Johnny Gonzalez, is there a wrong way to eat Angel Reese's? Stop.
Wow.
Why would you?
Wow.
He's got no class.
Mape says, sad news today. My daughter graduated today, so no more student discount on that NFL Sunday end zone.
Oh, damn.
Sucks to be you. Telling you guys got to make more money, $100,000 a month. You ain't got to worry about discounts.
Damn.
You know. Fight on Natty's. Angel Reese should star in the remake of Ice Age, as she is a sloth anyways, bro. Have you guys seen, and I'm not even joking, you guys understand that Angel Reese, there's a prop on Angel Reese about her missing shots. And you look at her statistics. The one who's always jealous is currently from the floor. She's had a big uptick. She's shooting 30% from the floor.
Now, you guys remember the famous Jonte Porter, right?
Ooh.
You guys remember Buddy, right? Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. Jonte Porter is no longer in the league, as you may remember.
Not banned.
Right. You know why I'm bringing him up? Buddy was trying to miss shots and shot 36%. Homegirl over here, or I'm sorry, he was trying to miss and shot 36%. Homegirl over here is trying to make it and shooting 30%.
And I'm telling you, if you go watch how many people in Vegas, and I think this is why the daily props probably cut it, but like daily fantasy, Angel Reese, and I want to say the verbiage on it was points in first attempt. And it was like 1.5, more or less.
Dude.
And it was always less. And it's not like she's shooting 3. She only shoots 1 3 a game, and she shoots 33%. She is having a historically terrible season offensively. Now, she averages 13.7 rebounds a game, and she can defend a little bit. But this is why I said I don't know why Caitlin Clark fouled her, because she would have made the layup anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, we're talking WNBA, and I apologize. Poncho Cornwallis, F1 greater than Indy, greater than NASCAR. F1 is now bigger in the U.S. and also internationally. So much so that ESPN doesn't want the F1 contract back. And we'll see where they end up. F1 will have a home here. Angel Reese is hot-eyed.
Chewy. See, now.
Why do you hyenas always default to this? Make sure that you download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty.
You're going to lose your privileges, bro. Like,
use the promo code. You worded it very well not to get filtered. Prize Picks promo. Download the app. Use the promo code Monty, MONTY, to open up a new Prize Picks account, and then always go against Angel Reese in points, in shooting percentage. Always go against it. Chewy going full on Chewy. Yes, I believe he is. Oh my God, that's exactly right. All right, real quick, can we talk about Aaron Rodgers? Go ahead, sigh loudly into the microphone. I hate Aaron Rodgers. I'm a mind reader. That's it. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, he's a dick. First of all, and I'm not saying that this should necessarily, speak ill of Aaron Rodgers, because Danica Patrick is not she's not all that altogether. She doesn't have. Danica is she shouldn't wear bikinis. Is what I would say. Danica is beyond being kind of a weirdo in the things that she thinks.
Uh-huh.
Danica Patrick came out over the weekend, and said that
catch me outside. How about that?
Danica Patrick came out over the weekend, and said that her relationship with Aaron Rodgers was emotionally abusive. And Danica Patrick, again, she's not, she just is. She's a woman. It's internal. But she is not somebody where you're like, oh man, gotta have that, right? No. This was also, I would remind you, on the weirdness scale, Danica Patrick and Aaron Rodgers were like 6-7 years ago. This is not like, oh man, this happened last week and I'm emotionally damaged from this. No, Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick were like 2018, 2019. And they were both clearly different people, right? She had the girls removed after this, like went through a whole thing, turned into kind of a wing nut, like. But another woman is coming out and saying, yeah, Aaron Rodgers emotionally damaged me. She said that Aaron Rodgers was the relationship was emotionally abusive. Quote, yeah, he leaves a trail of blood, is what Danica said. Which that's a tough thing.
Right.
The breakup with Aaron in 2020, it was sudden. It felt like it was my life. So like, when you live with somebody and like it's your whole life, it's your dentist appointment, your hairdo, it's your clothes, it's your mailing address, it's like everything. And because the nature of the relationship was emotionally abusive, that wore me down to nothing. People could never imagine that I would lack in confidence or belief in simple things about who I am. Yeah, everything was torn to bits. Danica Patrick on her relationship with Aaron Rodgers. She continued, yeah, he leaves a trail of blood. I don't think she went full spider tag. I don't think I'm saying too much earth-shattering stuff. There's been enough out there.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
Wow. What do you think when you hear somebody say that?
Not surprised.
You're not surprised.
Not surprised.
So then, should it surprise anyone that Aaron Rodgers says the federal government invented AIDS and gave it to people?
Now,
he said
I was
that.
going to do you guys the justice of playing such a heinous accusation.
I killed it. I said no.
And Monty over here felt like that was a little too far, which is fine because don't worry, we have backup.
Does it surprise you that Aaron Rodgers went on the JRE and insinuated that LeBron James sexually abused people at Diddy parties? Because that's what I get out of this, in my opinion. I listened to this bite right here of Aaron Rodgers on the Joe Rogan Experience. And in my opinion, he is trying to insinuate that LeBron James took part in nefarious acts because Diddy is on trial for sexual abuse.
Yeah.
He's trying to insinuate that LeBron was part of that.
I think there's so many fucking powerful people that are on those lists. There's so many powerful people that went and partied. Air quotes, partied. And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trials. Wild.
Why don't they air it the same way they aired the coverage that
Johnny
Depp got?
I know. Why don't they? I don't know. They should. The ratings would be amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you air that?
What's going to happen, though, you think?
Well, Diddy's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get.
Think he's going to sing though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters.
How
many guys were on video saying, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party"? How many people like openly talked about being there?
LeBron?
Yeah, how Ashton Kutcher, all these people. Like, you guys all went. You didn't see nothing? You didn't see nothing?
Yeah.
Come on. You like, without evidence, you're trying to say that LeBron James took part in nefarious activities.
Yeah, that he was there. Yep.
Like, why is that okay? Why is it like that Joe Rogan interview? You guys should go listen to that. And on top of that, did you guys see that Joe Rogan now has found God again? Joe Rogan says he is back in the Christian faith. He believes in Jesus Christ.
Well,
he's had a
to a dark
rebirth.
hole with Aaron. I mean, wild things can happen.
Ask Danica.
Yeah.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
The things that Aaron Rodgers said on that podcast were crazy. And because do you agree he tried to link LeBron to nefarious?
Without a doubt, dude.
That's my opinion.
First name he said was Braun, and it's not your opinion. Was shared by probably, I mean, I don't know the number, but a ton of people agreed.
And then, of course, it's not like he's going to backpedal from that. Like he's never going to walk away from that. He just isn't. And that's like Jay Beers, who's been a member for 3 months. He ain't walking away from that. But my point on Aaron Rodgers is you say stuff like that. You hear the Danica Patrick stuff. You hear that the HIV and AIDS was invented by the government against the people. Like, you hear all this craziness. And when we were messaging about this, what did you say?
Why would you want him on your team? Why is this somebody that you would want to get involved with? And furthermore, like, with all due respect to Aaron, I just don't like you, bro. I don't like what you're about. I don't like how you treat people. I don't know you, but based on what everyone, says about you, I mean, like, if it was just Danica, okay, different thing, right? But you've got the Green Bay situation. Say what you want about the Jets. My opinion is he had a lot to do with the downfall of that. We can disagree. But, okay, take the Jets out of it, right? Green Bay, that whole flame out, all the personal attacks of Fathead, like, we remember that. Okay, that's football. Danica, Shailene Woodley. Dude, Shailene Woodley has talked deeply about the damage he did to her. Like, that's not a secret.
Olivia Munn, Danica Patrick, Shailene Woodley.
Like this is a trend. This is not new. But then you go to what he's done in the press. The immunized thing.
But this HIV thing.
The HIV thing.
Right. You're talking about, and look, Jake wanted to play this bite about Dr. Fauci, and I want nothing to do with that, adjudicating that situation. But he goes on to say that Dr. Fauci played a role in HIV, and he talks about how, Dr. Fauci was involved in the development and promotion of AZT and said that it was harmful and ineffective. Like, he just says this stuff that he can't back up. And he's talking about a disease in HIV and AIDS that has wrecked generations.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, why do you want this guy in your locker room? That's the hard part. I mean, because you look at the things that he says, 9 out of the 10 things that Aaron Rodgers says are not backed up by science. Like, cannot be proven, cannot be, vetted.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly that thing. And I wonder, I have no doubt that Aaron Rodgers can still play at a high level. I have no doubt about it. And I will stand on business and continue to say, if Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers for 20 weeks next year, they're probably playing for a Super Bowl. I think they're in that kind of shape. But is that worth the headache that Aaron Rodgers is going to almost certainly bring to your locker room. I don't know if it is or if it's not. I don't know if it is or if it's not. It's crazy that you hear like the things that he said on that Joe Rogan podcast
are just out there.
I mean, like the HIV/AIDS thing and ACT and like that's just stupid. You don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff he said on the Joe Rogan podcast, I don't suggest you listen to it. It is, we had a tough time listening to it.
Yeah.
And I'm a Joe Rogan fan.
I'm at a point with Aaron Rodgers where I'll be honest, dude. If we didn't do this show, I would never pay attention to Aaron Rodgers. Wouldn't listen to anything he did. I'm not watching his documentary. Nothing. I'm not. The guy is.
But it's what Pat McAfee said. You're Aaron effing Rodgers. You're one of the greatest quarterbacks of your generation. And I can't for the life of me figure out why he continues to do this.
Because he thinks he's above it. That's why.
My question is, does he care if he ever plays again? I think he does. I think he knows his legacy is not intact. And I think he knows, is he a Pro Football Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Unquestionably.
Yes. Yes.
Without doubt. Is he one of the best quarterbacks who's ever played in the NFL? No, he is not. You got to have two. You're Trent Dilfer. You got to have 2 rings. You're Dan Marino. And you're not as good as Dan Marino was. You got to have 2 rings to compete with Peyton. You're never going to be Tom Brady. But are you going to be Russell Wilson?
Nah, he's better than Russ.
You got to have multiple rings, though, to seal that, in my opinion. If you've got one and then you never got back, are you telling me that's enough? You have one and you never got back. That's exactly right. A buddy of mine texting me saying, hey, the voters are human beings. And when you start talking about Anthony Fauci and ACT and aliens and crapping yourself in a dark dirt hole, maybe you get into the Hall of Fame at some point, but you're certainly not going to be that vaunted first ballot, no doubt about it, guy.
You're not a hero, bro.
You're certainly not.
You're not some.
You're
model.
not Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Are you Peyton Manning? Are you Peyton Manning?
You're not Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning's a better quarterback than. Are you Drew Brees? Because that's probably the most like for like comparison is probably Drew Brees, right?
I mean, yes, but I think without knowing the numbers right off the top of my head, just thinking about public perception, Drew Brees is one of the most liked quarterbacks the league's ever
beloved,
had, dude. And I don't know what bothers me. Here's what I do know. What bothers me is Aaron Rodgers is not interested in helping people. He is not interested, in my opinion, based on what the women in his life now and formerly and all that have said. Bro, he's not interested in doing right by people. It's not a problem if you want to break up with someone. It is a problem if you go out of your way to damage them. And what did homegirl say? Leave a trail of blood. Like that's
so that really the girlfriend thing really matters.
Yeah, because I think it's a true measure of one's character.
But you look at Aaron Rodgers and the issues he's had with his family, and I don't think there's any doubt everybody understands that he's got this fractured relationship with his family allegedly, and now he's got this trail of blood with all the women.
But here's the deal. If it was just his family, if it was just a thing, let's say that Aaron Rodgers had the splinter in his family relationship, but had been married for 15 years, had a couple kids, like his romantic life was in order. I'd be like, okay, that's your family. Totally can relate to that, dude. Family can be difficult sometimes. I totally get it. But that's not what this is. This is a guy who, and again, maybe this is wrong of me, but I do judge you for going into a hole for days at a time and doing ayahuasca. I think that's weird. I think that it's not for everybody, certainly. And if it makes you feel better, great. That doesn't mean I have to like it. So when I put all this together, because again, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt of, well, it's just a one-off thing. It's not a one-off thing.
It's not.
You treat women poorly emotionally, according to them, multiple times. You do ayahuasca and you're about that life. You are a tinfoil hat guy. without doubt. Nobody disputes
Well,
that.
it's not even a tinfoil hat thing at this point. Like, I think the HIV/AIDS AZT thing that's as off the reservation as you can be. I mean, honest to God, to make those kind of statements that just, it's crazy. And then he said, if you think that's crazy, listen to what he says here.
Will Aaron Rodgers ever go to the Bears?
Oh boy. Security, can we get her out of here? I need some security. Security,
can you take it easy on her on this one?
No, but I believe there's a team that might play in Chicago this year.
What
a road
team?
trip. I don't know. I'm not sure. Gotta check it out.
Are you speaking in code?
I love Chicago, though. Way more than they love me. It's been a great relationship, all one way.
First of all, that's absolutely true. There is no question about that as a Bears fan. Anybody know what the Steelers are doing the week of Thanksgiving? Anybody got any any chance they're going to have a road trip on the 23rd of November to the Chicago Bears? 11 a.m. CBS. Yeah, that's exactly what their schedule says. Noontime kickoff, CBS, Steelers at Bears. And it just confirms what I've said all along, which is, as usual, I'm right. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers have an agreement in place, in my opinion. I think it'll be a post-June 1st signing. I think he's going to be in this league, and he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I think they're going to, if he plays 20 games, they'll go to a Super Bowl. If he stays healthy, they will go to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Because they've got the talent. They've got that defense. Mike Tomlin's a great game manager. I think he's going to sign with the Steelers, and they're going to be very good, which is going to raise his profile.
And that might be true, but that doesn't make him any less of a villain.
Yeah, we'll see. Chewy, but Monty, the government conspired with aliens to alter our DNA through the use of roller food.
Okay, fuck you. How's that?
Case in point. Jake loves roller food, which is, if you're new to the show, that's why that joke continues. Jake routinely eats off of rollers at gas stations.
That's not true.
It is true. Hey, Jake, you sound like a jaded ex-girlfriend. What did Aaron ever do to you?
I don't know. Just waste my time year after year pretending that he was going to be able to beat Tom Brady. Waste my time.
Good.
Waste my time. Not being able to beat Tom Brady teams where Tom was throwing to the likes of Scotty Miller.
So good.
Come on, bro.
Joe Rogan became a Notre Dame fan? Thankfully not. Johnny Gonzalez, I saw a picture of Usher, Obama, and Diddy alleging the connection, all three of these men crossing paths. Like, it's crazy. The Diddy stuff, listen, the Diddy stuff it's outrageous what is coming out at that Diddy trial. Like, it's outrageous. The names being linked to his activities are outrageous. But just because you went to a Diddy party doesn't mean you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And I agree. You see the alleged photos of his basketball court where he's got beds in every corner. Kind of puts a different light on it now. But are you supposed to know that that's what's going on? Are you supposed to know the high-level abuse and alleged trafficking? No. Just because you were there. And the question that I have is, okay, if we're doing this on Diddy parties, why aren't we doing this on Epstein Island? Why aren't we doing this on Epstein's airplane? Because y'all know who was on the island and in the airplane. We've seen the guest list. Oh, but we don't talk about that. Oh, but LeBron. That's what I have a problem with. That's the, I just hate that. Aaron Rodgers smokes too much cheese. Once a cheesehead, always a cheesehead. Could be. Jacob Steinecker, what's up? But Monty, all roads lead back to meat, chicken, sign stealers.
Damn right.
Listen, those kids were hungry. Okay?
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
Jimmy just wanted to give him cheeseburgers, bro. Aaron is more about stealing the spotlight than Steelers football. You're probably not wrong about that. Who tells more lies, Aaron Rodgers? Well, it could be. Fat. Jesus. He saw the truth about LeBron in the cave.
Yeah,
I think he did.
Man, just so much clarity.
The hieroglyphs on the wall and stuff in the complete darkness. Could you guys live in how long are they in that cave for?
Different durations. I don't know.
Could you guys, they quite literally dig a hole in the ground, build a little cabin down there. No light other than daylight. Like you're in the dark, high on ayahuasca. You've drunk the tea. You are shiting yourself. And listen, I'm not going to, you need to move your bowels. Bro, I told Jake, I put out a large quantity of cattle this morning that could stock an entire ranch.
All hat, no cattle.
But the lights were on and I wasn't high on ayahuasca. I can't imagine doing that. I can't imagine it. Can you imagine living in a hole in the ground, crapping yourself because you drank ayahuasca? No, the answer is no.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
No.
Nope.
Aaron Rodgers is like a bizarro version of Colin Kaepernick. Okay. You know, I mean, that's one way to look at it. No doubt. Steinecker says Jerry Sandusky's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers.
Stop.
Come on, man. No, I'm not playing. Nope. The stadium guy, James, Dan Marino and Jim Kelly were better QBs than Aaron Rodgers. Neither of them won a Super Bowl. Jim Kelly was my guy growing up. He was my favorite quarterback. I don't know that Aaron was better than Jim Kelly in his prime. I mean, that's close. Dan Marino, I think, was one of the most underrated quarterbacks just because he didn't win. But, you know, Big Pontiff, I have a Hall of Shame spot in hell for A-Rod and Harbaugh next to Joe Pa. Wow.
Facts.
I like it. Sandusky really knew how to get a hole in one.
Okay, chill.
Did he play golf?
Come on.
Cold-blooded. Science tends to prove people wrong, so people tend to not use science when they make dumb accusations and statements.
Facts, dude.
And it's why that's the thing. It is. Yeah, science is undefeated. And
yeah, I agree with that completely.
There was a thing the other day. I want to say that it was on. I was watching something, and there was a flat earther who was debating a scientist. And the scientist used a video of a roof line on time lapse. Because if the earth is flat, when the sun moved off, you know, and was rising and setting, the roof line would move in a straight line. But instead, it didn't. What did it do? Well, it curved. And why is that? Because the earth is... And the guy said, oh, you altered that video. Bro, like, it's never good enough. If you think the earth is flat, no matter what evidence is put to the contrary, you'll never... the video was not altered.
No.
End of the day... You want to know the character of a man? Look at how he treats people who can do nothing for him.
Exactly.
Truth.
That is what I'm talking about.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that is absolutely an indicator. Stadium guy James, Rodgers won't make it to the halfway point. He'll get hurt and tear muscle in one of his legs. Well, I hope not. Fat Jesus, how far down the list is breaking up by text?
Not as far down the list as dragging someone out to the point where they say you left a streak of blood. Just saying.
It does seem like he's not great with women.
Yeah.
Like, I don't judge people who don't get married. I think if you're the kind of guy like Aaron, who clearly is not the marrying type, even though I think he and Shailene were engaged, every woman you're with, it's like they lose a part of their soul to you. I'm going to say that you're not nice to people. You don't treat people well.
Yeah, I just think that it's like, listen, we all can see the good people and the bad people, man. Like, and sometimes good and bad is kind of blurred. But in this case, I think it's pretty straightforward. This guy doesn't treat people well. And the defense for that with the Steelers is the Steelers are this great organization who know how to handle bad apples and
And I would agree with that.
Okay. Agree with that. That's cool. I'm fine with that. But when we get to October, when we get to November, and they're underachieving by Super Bowl standards, right? Not saying they're going to suck, but when maybe they lost the game they shouldn't. Maybe an injury happens on the roster at a key position. Something goes not their way. You watch how Aaron responds. Was it on him or was it on them? As far as I'm concerned, it was
DK ran the wrong route.
Yep. Wide receiver ran the wrong route. Wasn't a bad ball by Aaron. Wide receiver ran the wrong route.
Well, in that case, it was very true. He was in the wrong place. But anyway, I don't disagree with you. I think he will throw people under the bus. Like it is. That's just that is what it is. Steinecker says, but Monty, don't forget only 60 likes. I'm so bad at this. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow here on the Monty Show. We really appreciate that you guys watch the show. And let's look at numbers. We've had over 3,000 views and we have 63 likes.
Hit the like button, man.
Please hit the like button. Case Sumbry says, good point, Monty. Thank you.
The other thing is, has this guy ever shown the ability to be the guy that you sign as a one-year free agent who's going to lead you to the Super Bowl?
No, but he's only had one chance to do that, and he tore his Achilles tendon the first second he was on the field.
So that means he can do it?
I think he can do it. His football talent is unique and individual and individually excellent. So that's not the point. The question is, how much damage will he do to your culture? Because I think he did damage the Jets' culture. There's no doubt about that.
I guess my thing for the
Losing
Steelers is,
tends to do that.
I would agree with that. Losing didn't help. But my point is for the Steelers, I don't want to hear people say, oh, well, this was a win-win thing. You can't lose with this decision. There's, if you sign him and it goes sideways, no one's going to blame you. Actually, I disagree with that because of the draft position you had this year. You could have had Jackson Dart. Could have had Shedeur Sanders.
Multiple times on both.
But you didn't want that. So I'm just saying. Proof's in the pudding. And if it works out, I'm really happy for everyone involved.
But again, I'll just maintain, and I will continue to say, he's Aaron effing Rodgers. And the guy can really play. And are you just boycotting that drop?
Yeah, I am.
Why?
Because.
You're a jerk. Jimmy Otson, I know I'm very late to the party, but I'm glad that Pancho Cornwallis introduced us to Yaxel Lendeborg. There you go.
His name is Sven, okay?
Sven. Okay. But Monty, I already hit the like button. I appreciate that. The Ponif. Well, he owns Soldier Field, so the Bears are moving to Arlington Heights.
See, like the Bears stuff I'm cool with. Talk the smack, dude.
I'm playing golf yesterday, and my asshole brother calls me and just has to bring up the Bears.
Too bad.
Moving to Arlington Heights. And I'm not here for it. And I totally get that the Bears can't get a lakefront deal, and I think they should. The team said in a statement, over the last few months, we've made significant progress with the leaders of Arlington Heights and look forward to continuing to work with the state local leaders on making a transformative economic development project for the region a reality. And it's a complete mistake. I understand it. The Bears don't have a great owner because that's who Aaron Rodgers is. He's a terrible owner.
Johnny, please.
See what I did there.
Yeah.
The Bears, it's a huge mistake for them to leave the lakefront. And it'll never be the same. It'll never be the same.
Do they care? No.
I don't think they care.
Nope.
It's why the Cubs don't spend money. Because people show up and they win just enough. And the Cubs, perfect example. Cubs got the All-Star game in 2027. You know what they're going to do? They're going to use that as a veil to not win games, but spend money on the stadium. Who are you, Ryan Smith and the Utah Jazz?
Pause, bro. Pause.
We've seen this movie before.
Formula's been laid out.
We've seen this movie before. Stadium Guy James, Jimmy is here. Yay! Are you boycotting that drop too?
No, I'm actually looking for the drop that you were referencing.
I thought you had it there before.
Yay!
You had it on the page before.
It's here somewhere.
Yeah, but you just
800 drops later.
Yeah, you have a lot of drops. What's your stance on Karen Reed trial number 2?
Like, for instance,
I don't have a stance. I don't have a stance, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
By the way, Knicks Pacers. This is coming up here in 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you in final score mode? Are you?
Yeah. I mean, well, score is really hard to predict. I don't know about score, but I think the Knicks will win tonight. I think that the NBA desperately needs this series to go to 7 games. And call me tinfoil hat guy. I fully buy in. I think that the NBA is very good at making sure that the series that need to go deep, go deep. And, I know we were texting about this, and the numbers are the numbers. This team's really good when they're down 20. I don't dispute that. But here's what I know in the NBA, and we all agree on this. Getting down 20 repeatedly is not a formula to win. And
I would agree with that.
And what concerns me is that I like Karl Anthony Towns as a player a lot. I love Brunson's game. I think Brunson is about as New York.
I like Brunson's game. I don't love it.
He's pretty good. Like I agree, he's got to pass a little more, but he is very good.
But what is the issue with the Knicks, and why are they losing games? And I know I'm probably the only one who thinks this. They're losing games because OG Anunoby becomes an absolute mystery in the fourth quarter. He's a guy that continues to play exceptionally well through 3 quarters and shoots threes and helps them get back into games, and then he just is nowhere to be found in the final quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the second half of the fourth quarter. And you look at some of his game logs, the guy is remarkably consistent. He has scored 16 points in every game. He is 4 of 6 on Sunday. Does he see the ball in the second half of the fourth quarter for a 3? No, he does not. When he's only getting 9 shots, that's a problem for this team. And I'm not asking for 20 shots. If the Knicks are going to win tonight, he's going to have to have the ball late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'll also say this idiocy around Josh Hart not being in the starting lineup. So let me get this right. You took out Josh Hart and you put Mitch Robinson in the starting lineup. When did Karl Anthony Towns have his run in this game? Was it right out of the gate? I'm sorry. Was it even in the first half? Was it early in the third quarter? No. Why? Because there's no room to operate when Towns and Mitchell Robinson are on the floor together. You look quite literally cannot drive the paint if you're Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson's on the floor. So what happens? They take Mitchell Robinson out in the fourth quarter, and what does Karl Anthony Towns do? Goes absolutely ham. Goes absolutely crazy because the paint's opened up. The biggest thing was he knocked down that 3 at the top.
Right.
Then they had to respect it, and he just tore that ass up in paint. And if you're going to start Mitchell Robinson tonight, they're going to lose. Because this team, he can't make free throws. And again, I understand if Mitchell Robinson plays more than 20 minutes, the Knicks will lose. He played 29 minutes the other night.
Yeah, I think the thought was less about the offense and more about the defense.
Well, that might be true, and they were targeting Josh Hart defensively. But you can't have Mitchell Robinson playing 30 minutes.
I don't disagree. I think the key for the Knicks is having Josh Hart in the starting lineup and just playing better, bro. Move the ball. Like have, the Knicks do really well when they actually run sets. And I feel like I say this about every freaking team in the league, but At some point, you have to run offense. At some point, it can't just be give it to Brunson, set a screen, and just see what happens.
But where's Precious? That's the other thing that I don't understand. Why is he not playing in this series really at all? I don't know. The Knicks are perplexing. Tom Thibodeau is not a championship coach, in my opinion, and I want to see more out of Karl Anthony Towns, but I also want to see way more out of OG. If the Knicks are going to win tonight, it's got to be OG. Carl Anarchy Taus. Okay. The stadium guy, James. Oh, Jesus. Anytime he starts with legit question, I swear to God, if you start arguing with me over the OSU coaching staff, I will do nothing.
Yeah.
I did live in Chicago for almost a year. Why is it bad that the Bears are moving to the suburbs?
Next comment. We don't have time for this today.
Okay, why doesn't Oak State move to Norman? No, seriously, go ahead. Why not have Oak State play their games in OKC? I don't understand. Why would that be a problem? Why wouldn't we have Ohio State just play their games in Cleveland? Columbus, fuck Columbus, play in Cleveland. Why doesn't Michigan play football in Detroit? Why doesn't Notre Dame play football in Chicago? Do I really have to explain the culture of Soldier Field?
On the lake.
Walter Payton, Soldier Field. The Chicago Bears playing football in the snow at Soldier Field. I have to explain that culture to you. Like, that's crazy to me. It is wild to me that Oak State James is a guy who says he's like a stadium aficionado and has no idea why you can't block the mountain view at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City. And I have to consistently explain why moving the Bears an hour outside of the city when they are as far east as you can possibly go in the city of Chicago. Downtown. I don't know, maybe, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't been to Chicago since, like a month ago. There's a fucking skyline that matters too. The building, they got some pretty tall buildings in Chicago.
Right.
And when you have NBC and Sunday Night Football and you see all the buildings and the skyline and the Sears Tower, because, it's called the Sears Tower.
Well, Monty, Willis Tower is, it's got to be in Arlington Heights, Yeah,
let's just move Oklahoma State to Norman.
Hell, why don't you just go to Lubbock while you're at it? I mean, just take it all the way down there, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just go further south. Who cares?
Oak State James is a Texas Tech fan now. So, Karl Anthony Taus. Is it safer to go to a game in the suburbs? No. It's not dangerous to go to a game in Chicago. Again, tell me who reads too many headlines. It's not dangerous to go to a game in Chicago. They're not on the south side. There aren't bullet holes in seats in the upper deck. It's the Miracle Mile. It's downtown Chicago. It's Grant Park. It's Museum of Science and Industry, the Art Institute. They're not. What are we doing? Case Summary says, go Pokes. See, it's that kind of thing. Like,
why is that hard to understand, dude? What, how you said legit question. Are you saying you're trying to make a case to move to Arlington at a horse track? Really?
Again. And F no, Monty. Pokes in Stillwater only. Thank you.
Yeah, see, you're a fan. I get it.
Let's move the Packers to Milwaukee. What's the problem? There's more money in Milwaukee. There's more money. Yeah, the Cubs. Dude, you know what? I heard that Kenosha's got great land for a new stadium. Let's move the Cubs to Kenosha. What are we doing? Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Okay, I didn't know I went through Chicago once when they had a Playboy building. There you go. James, I have no dog in the fight. I just wanted your opinion. I hope the city of Chicago works with the Bears and builds on the.
Come on, dude. Come on. You can't be like, I'm not trying to be a red ass here, but you can't be serious that you're like, oh, I have no dog in the fight. Well,
when
bro,
you start with legit question, I did live in Chicago for almost a year. So let me get this right. You lived in Chicago and you're wondering why Arlington Heights is a problem for Bears fans?
It's just not proper. It's not the way it should be. Like, come on.
Why is it bad that the Bears are moving to the suburbs? Aren't there more of the rich fans in the suburbs? Never mind the economy and the economic value of Bears games and losing all of that in Cook County. It's all good, James. I agree with you. It's probably a legitimate question. And that's okay. That's okay. Last thing before we get to how stupid millennials are. Actually, speaking of Chicago, one other thing I forgot to get to. You guys know the Bears are trading for James Cook, right?
Well, that's contingent on whether they're leaving the lakefront or not.
Good point.
Yeah.
We're just going to go, Bears are trading for James Cook. Deal with it. It is what it is. Should there just be one portal window? And then we have to get to Lane Kiffin, because when Lane speaks, we listen. Should there be just one transfer portal a year? And of course, the obvious exceptions of your coach sucks, we fired his ass, you guys can transfer.
Right.
Are there too many portals? Multiple portals a year?
Yeah, I mean, I just think too many are just extremely poorly timed. You know, the December window is a joke. I mean, I don't know how we have. How do you have a portal in the middle of the most important weeks of, of the year for head coaches and football programs? I mean, that just can't happen. I mean, that's just not realistic. That's not how it should be.
Can't happen.
And I feel like also, Kenny Dillingham has spoke on this. Several SEC coaches we played on the show. I remember, many coaches spoke on the fact that like these stories about how, oh, well, hey, our regular season's over. We're not going to the CFP portal. Leave the program altogether. No more development. No more nothing. And Kenny Dillingham said, hey, well, we want those kids to stay a part of our team as long as they can, because it helps them. They get extra development time.
That's right.
They lift the weights. We still have extra, workouts and things like that they can go through, and
as long as they're a positive part of our locker room, they're welcome to be here.
So when we say, hey, well, are there too many portals? Yeah, I think there's too many portals. I think there should be one portal. I think it should be after the postseason's over, after college football is over, when the moment that it's 0:00 on the clock,
portal
opens, dude. That's how it should be. Hey, season's over. Great. Let's start portaling. You wanna scheme behind the scenes and everything? Cool. I have no problem with that. That's how business is done in this country.
Schemers.
Dark alleys, back rooms, in private. That's how business is done in our country. So I'm not shaming anybody for doing that. And I just think that this concept of multiple portals a year is foolish. And I also think that it's also foolish because kids should have to commit. There should have to be, hey, you've got one opportunity, excluding your coach getting fired in those, circumstances. But just, hey, you commit to a program, that's it, dude. You're there for the year. And in tandem with that, and I think this is what we'll get out of the House settlement and all that, as part of NIL contracts that go through the NIL Go clearinghouse process, that's going to get rolled out here in short order. You have to fulfill your NIL obligations. You have to.
And then, and only then, can we move on to Greg Sankey running the college football world. Because then somebody DM me about Oak State James, and I can't wait to read it. Here are some of the models that are being floated. Greg Sankey wants 16 teams, and I think pretty much everybody's in line with that, right? And I'm curious, how accurate do you guys think this is? If you look at these numbers, and you look at the Big Ten, the SEC, and you look at some of the numbers that are in that table, do you guys believe that Greg Sankey is justified in asking for 16 teams? Because if you look at this, it's a breakdown of the number of teams by conference finishing in the top 16 in the last 11 college football playoffs. The Big Ten would average 5.3. The SEC would average 5. The Big 12 has only averaged 2.4 teams in the top 16 ranking in the college football playoff. The ACC 2.1, the Group of 5 less than 1, and Notre Dame less than 1. Is he wrong to believe that the Big Ten and the SEC should have a larger share of the college football playoff? And this is where Greg Sankey almost always goes and almost always wins, when he uses data. I think this is a really compelling argument.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. I don't disagree it's compelling, and I think it's true. But I also think on the other side of that, this equation of, hey, you need, the Big 12 and the ACC to accomplish some of the things that you're trying to do, just from a numbers standpoint, amount of teams, whether it's the Super League concept or, Greg talks about this, I can't remember the word he used, but just breakaway league, as he calls it.
Yep.
You're not going to have a 30 team breakaway league. I think
that's not happening.
That's not realistic. And so I maintain, and we've talked about this, and I think most agree, that Greg Sankey and company aren't going to do the Super League until they absolutely have to, but they also don't want to wait too long. So it's this concept of, okay, let's suck all the power out of this that we can and leverage the data and use the data, but then make sure through that process, we're also shepherding the sheep along to get them to follow us into a new model that puts us further in control.
Did 12 teams make a difference? No, because of the butt face that was doing the selection.
Right.
I think that was a huge travesty of justice.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at 12 helped. 16 is where it needs to be. And I don't disagree that the sentiment outside of the SEC is, well, here's Greg Sankey arguing for how to get as many SEC teams in as possible. What would you think?
What would you have him do?
That's called his job, right? That's what his job is. And I think it's one of those things where you have to, Strider hit Bryce Harper, who left the game with a right elbow injury. The Braves hit Bryce Harper again.
According to, I can't remember the guy's name on Twitter, the doctor that comments on all this stuff. He's expecting it to be okay, that there's not going to be a break, that it's just going to be sore.
Dude, the Braves continue to throw up and in on Bryce Harper.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my point is, I don't have any problem with this out of Greg Sankey. And I think when you start looking at what other coaches are saying, Lane Kiffin saying there are still flaws in every system. True. The system he prefers is a way to figure out the best 16 teams. Why wouldn't you want that? Well, because you and I both goddamn well know the best 16 teams are going to be predominantly the SEC followed by the Big Ten. Because historically, and this is historic data since the start of the college football playoff, the Big 12 and the ACC don't put teams in the top 16. Is that the SEC's fault, or is that the ACC and the Big 12's fault? I'm telling you, I guess I'll be the guy that dies on this hill. Go bitch at your school officials. If you're in Lubbock, if you are in Waco, if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, if you're in Stillwater, in Salt Lake City, go bitch at your school officials.
Y'all feel me?
They're the reason that the SEC has all this control.
Yes.
Because you guys don't win. TCU doesn't win. Texas Tech doesn't win. Baylor doesn't win. You have to win consistently. How on earth can you make that a different argument when Colorado, BYU, and Arizona State were the 3 best teams in this league last year. How much were they been in here for 12 seconds?
Yep. And also, if we're being really brutal about it, how embarrassed is the ACC about SMU?
Significantly.
That's a bad look, dude.
Significantly.
That's a bad look.
Yeah, I think it is very clear. Yeah, I think it's very clear. It's as clear as it can be. Oak State James. I think it should be 4 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten. That's 8. The Big 12, why would you give what is the Big 12 and the ACC done to earn extra bids? Why would you? So that's 14. You think Notre Dame in one group of 5. Why would you do that? Why would you give the Big 12 and the ACC more? Why do you want to water it down? I don't understand that.
And furthermore, if you're the SEC and the Big Ten,
why would you agree to that?
Yeah, not just that you would give them the extra spot. You don't want to guarantee them anything more than you have to, and you're robbing yourself, because what people seem to forget is, hey, those 2 extra at-large bids potentially can be SEC teams.
And I'd remind you, this isn't a conversation. This is not a democracy. The Big Ten and the SEC control what's going to happen. And in my opinion, I don't care if you think it's sus, because I think it largely is. That's what you agreed to.
Yeah.
The SEC didn't put a gun to anybody's head. Notre Dame got in. Okay, great. Here's our vote. This is what you agreed to.
Yeah.
But with Big 12 and ACC fans, look at this graphic and explain to me, if I could load the freaking graphic.
Hello.
Look at that graphic and explain to me, what is it that you've done? Because that's 16 teams. That's the average number of teams per conference since the college football playoff started that have finished in the top 16.
So let's just make sure we verbalize this correctly. The Big 12 and the ACC combined have less than the SEC.
And the Big 10.
Like,
the Big 10 averages 5.3 teams per year ranked in the top 16 since the college football playoff started. The SEC averages 5 teams in the top 16 of the college football rankings since the college football playoff started. The Big 12, 2.4. The ACC, 2.1.
Gee, you think winning football games matters at all?
So I continue to go back and ask you, why would you want to water down the college football playoff? That's what I'm trying to understand. Why can't we say out loud the 16 best teams belong in the college football playoff? And then you're all going to say, well, because it'll never be that way, they're going to put in who they want. Okay, let's go to a Super League. A Super League will kill college football I'll never watch. Okay, well, what way is it? Because you take the humans out of it, you're bitching about it. You leave the humans in, you're bitching about it. Let them play it on the field. Do you ever hear anybody saying, I can't believe the Chicago Bears got hosed? My God. You never hear it. You know why? Because did you win the game? You're in. Did you lose? Oh, you're out. Simple as that.
Well, unless it's the officials and the Chiefs, but
simple as that. Unless the quarterback with a brother who's a sexual assaulter or bartenders is on the field, it's a level playing field. The scumbag can't. Never mind. My point is, I'll just continue to go back and tell you what I've said for months and months and months and months and months, almost a year now. They're going to a model that mirrors the NFL. My opinion is, and a TV guy told me recently, it'll be the weekend before. One weekend, it'll be the college football championship weekend. The next weekend, it'll be the Super Bowl Sunday weekend. Because the Pro Bowl doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I think it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So my opinion is, I don't know why on earth you would want to dilute that. Unless, of course, unless you have an automatic bid, you're not getting teams in.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what that says.
Yeah. And I think that, again, all due respect to Oak State James, not trying to make it personal, but I think folks like Oak State James who are fans and just view everything from a fan perspective, you want everything to be fair and equitable. And that's not the conversation we're having. This is not a fair and equitable conversation.
It's not a democracy.
Yeah, this is not a democracy. This is not, hey, well, what's fair and how do we include no, that's not what it is. The SEC is out for itself, and I also think is out to help their partner, the Big Ten, on some level. Although my suspicion is Greg Sankey is always looking to give the SEC an edge in any way that he can, even if it's a small one over the Big Ten. But they're out together to lead this thing, and they are. And the Big 12 and the ACC are just along for the ride.
Yeah.
And you need to stop saying things like the Big 12 and the ACC should get 3 because they haven't earned that. They just haven't.
I don't even think it's a conversation.
Yeah, I don't even think it's controversial
at all.
To say, hey, the Big 12 and the ACC, haven't won enough games, haven't been competitive enough, haven't been relevant enough. And by the way, haven't embraced the new age of college football around NIL and these different things. And by the way, if we're talking about SMU in the ACC, it's a bad look that, the remnants of the Pac-12 come into your conference and absolutely blow it up. Like ASU winning this thing, BYU being in contention, Colorado being in contention. Like, come on, dude. I mean, what are we doing? Like, that's not great.
And I just go back to Jay McClanahan, but still the top 16 teams are still biased based on people voting. Bring on the Super League and develop an NFL model. And I don't know how long we can go on to continue to say Florida AD Scott Strickland, a committee is not ideal to choose a postseason. I question whether it's appropriate for college football.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Take the humans out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he continued. So I think anything we could do to make the postseason more objective and less subjective is going to be better. Take the humans out of it.
Yeah.
But you can't have a Super League, Monty. It's destroying college football. So watering it down because you want to make sure that the lesser leagues each get a participation trophy.
That's millennial energy right there. That's participation trophy energy right there.
You ought to know.
Yeah. That's that, hey, I wasn't even close to being able to win, but here's a little blue ribbon because you participated. That's what that is.
Yeah. Kay Sumbry, so why we baking it in if they're going to make it anyway? Yeah, they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
You know why?
Let them play it on the field, man.
No, but to your point, do you know why? Oh, that's right. Because they can.
Because they can. I'm sorry. When's the last time a rich guy who could do whatever he wanted didn't do whatever he wanted?
I'm sorry. When is the last time a rich guy had the opportunity to do right, be equitable by the poor guy? When was the last time the rich guy chose to go that route? Because that's exactly what this is. The SEC has no reason and frankly has no responsibility to help the Big 12. That's not what this is.
This is called the Big Beautiful Bill.
In that point there about, well, why do they have to bake it in if they're so much better anyway? Because they can. That's why.
Take the risk?
Why should we have to take the risk if you don't invest at the level we do, don't win at the level we do, don't take it as seriously as we do?
You can afford to buy the railroads on monopoly. Let them have it. Let me give it to somebody else.
I'm going to let the guy sitting to my left get Park Place.
You want Park Place? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and take that?
Yeah, Vermont's up for sale. Yeah, I think I'm going to pass.
Do I really need Illinois Avenue, even though I already have all the other red ones? Yeah, I've got too much money for that.
I mean, come on, dude. The argument of, well, why do they need to bake it in? With all due respect, Sumbry, I like you, bro. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just a soft take because, again, why wouldn't they?
Soft person tendencies.
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
We used to play drops on the show, but we don't anymore.
Why wouldn't they?
Daniel Dixon, Big 12 is lucky if they get 2. I totally agree. It's a soft person tendency. It's a soft. Okay. Dallas is rich and they watch Super Bowls on TV. That's the good part about a systematic system. Yeah. Because anybody who doesn't watch the Super Bowl, that's a soft person.
I'm trying.
It's a soft person.
Okay. we recently migrated our drops, and some of them are in different areas now. And
we're making excuses for why we can't find
It is what it is.
our butthole from a hole in the ground.
yeah, it's a little difficult, you know.
Ask Aaron
It's,
Rodgers. Kim
you know.
Coulter. Pew pew. Not going to argue against your points, but
Go ahead and argue.
I am truly fascinated by your implied thought that millions of viewers will simply bend over and take it. You don't think people won't watch? No, they always watch. We're boycotting the NFL.
It's a soft person tendency.
Yeah, it's. Thank you.
Stupid ass question.
Oh, the Hall of Fame, baby. Look, we always talk about this. Listen, if the Bears move off the lakefront, I'm never going again. Hey, I got an extra ticket for the Aaron Rodgers game. You want to go? Hell yeah!
Kiss my butt.
Yeah, I'm in. Hey, what have I said 100 times? I'm not supporting the Cubs. They don't spend money. Hey, Mr. Mortimer, you're next up. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Oin.
Hey, Oin. You're next up on the season ticket list. Okay, where do I send my payment? We're not boycotting anything. I'm not going to watch. Okay, I'll be watching. You go ahead. Enjoy.
Roll Tide.
You go ahead and enjoy those reruns of Little House on the Prairie, sir. I'll be watching football. People will never do it. I'm not watching till Jerry's dead.
Okay, we'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, but the 49ers are in town. All right, what time's the game? Like, you're there, dude. You're so... Dak sucks. Can I get his jersey? Can I get your...
Cow turd.
Hey, cow turd, can I get your autograph? Right? Like... I hate Dak so much. Dak, can I get your autograph, dude? Sorry you got your ass beat in college in that parking lot at a country music festival. But can I get your autograph, sir?
Like I just think it's you Kim, you're awesome. But the idea that a college football fan isn't watching Texas, Georgia, isn't watching
Notre Dame get their ass beat by Ohio State.
Come on, dude. They're gonna watch. The numbers say they're gonna watch.
K. Sumbry, fair point, fair enough point, Jake.
Right.
But if our president isn't the perfect example of this, well, let me write a tax code that only benefits me and my friends who are super wealthy. But sir, there's hungry kids in Ann Arbor looking for a cheeseburger. Fuck them. Right? Like that's
And go ahead and try me then.
But sir, if we just leave the food stamps in, they'll eat. Too bad for them. Go Bucks. Right? Like, that's where we're at. I said go Bucks.
You're so fucked.
It's Jim Harbaugh. Okay.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong, dude.
When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer.
But sir, there's hungry kids in Ann Arbor.
Mommy, please take me home.
Because he was feeding Jim Harbaugh the cheeseburgers. The recruits and his dad just happened to be there, man, driving
Sort of
through.
a natural reflex.
They were on their way home from Ohio State, and they just...
Okay.
This is a tasty burger.
It's fine. I simply asked a question. Ridicule me all you want for doing. No, we're not.
Bro, we're not ridiculing you. What I'm saying is that
we're not
bro,
ridiculing
what I'm
you.
saying is that
when Joey doesn't come through and loses like every game this year, then we're gonna ridicule you. But until then, we're just.
I swear to God,
guy, it's May 27th, and there ain't a whole hell of a lot going on. You walk in here and you ask me about Donnie and the big, beautiful bill. We're going to run a little bit with it. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, dude, if your boy, Joey McGuire, calls a zero blitz on the 1 yard line.
Listen, where's Joe Biden? Dumb son of a bitch. If that
dude,
son of a bitch calls a zero blitz,
I swear to God,
in overtime
bro,
on the 15 at Rice Eccles Stadium in week 4,
my stuff, dude.
I'm gonna hang him by a yard arm, boy.
Dude,
doesn't make you feel responsible.
yeah, you're damn right. It makes me feel responsible. And no,
Joey, don't call that zero blitz, Joey.
He's just a hack.
Okay, listen, we need this game.
How can I get fired today?
We're sitting in the kitchen sink, Ma.
Damn.
That's an issue.
Bro.
I'm warning you. If Joey loses a game this year,
Y'all about to fuck this up.
oh, you have no idea. You ain't got no idea.
I will chain you to a pipe.
You want to see boycotts? Have Joey Maguire loses 3 games this year. We're going to boycott it. We won't even watch the game.
Loser.
Because we'll be putting the money together to fire his ass.
I broke my back.
Okay, thanks. We'll move on. Joey Harper, who's been a member for 20 months.
Nice.
Joey, how about we send you a $50 Amazon gift card just because you're a good dude and we like you?
Harper, not Maguire. Right?
Well, Joey's rich. He works at Texas Tech and doesn't win much, but
Yeah.
good thing he doesn't work for Apple. Nope.
Abilene and 52 MF points, boy.
To what do I owe this pleasure?
Joseph Harper,
Damn.
DM Jake your email address. We'll send you a $50 Amazon gift card just because. Monty, question for you. Oh, boy.
Is this a legit question or a fake question? Just so we're on the same page.
Because I'll boycott you, Joey.
Yeah.
So you better check yourself.
Do they have a salary cap on NIL? They will. It's not official, but they'll have roster limits. They'll have, it's coming. They definitely will. I need more books for my D-min classes.
Okay, we're not giving you books so you can.
When you stop asking me why the Bears should why it's bad that they're moving off the lakefront.
You don't always have to be negative.
To the manure pile in Arlington Heights.
The manure pile.
We're moving to a racetrack and you're wondering why that's a problem. God damn it. Okie Light, how do you fix the human bias? Auto bids, computers? No, you take out voting and you have it. I know this is crazy.
Monty.
This is, and I say a lot of dumb things on this show. 100%.
Yeah, I know.
You decide it on the field, like wins and losses. I know. Get crazy.
What an incredible concept.
Get crazy.
Who the hell knew?
Let the on-field performance decide who's in and who's out.
Wow.
Who knew?
Wow.
I know. I always pick James on Prize Picks Demons. There you go.
Okay.
He's got that demon.
Yeah, Monty, the Prize Picks line for James asking legitimate questions today is set at 2. What do you think of that?
All right, let's hey Monty, listen, while you're sending me that gift card for all my little D books that I need for the church hood.
Okay, sorry. Quick sidetrack. You gave away this Amazon gift card. Buddy's email is a Seahawks email. And I don't know if I can work under
Yeah,
those
we're
conditions.
retracting that. You can just hey,
think
Joey
that,
Harper. No, you're dead. You're done.
Fuck you.
Yeah, you're out.
We're waiting
His Seahawks email. Russ's wife is hot at gmail.com. More gum for Pete at gmail.com. Gino for president at gmail.com.
I like samscleancut.com.
12s packs into their cocks at gmail.com.
I get it.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
I'm serious, you guys. I would just like to, as a public service announcement, I would like to thank hell for being fake.
Let's ride.
Because I got that energy in me today.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
At gmail.com.
Okay, so over under on James legit questions on Prize Pick is set at 2.
Zero. My gut feeling is Arlington Heights. Now you have a gut feeling on Arlington Heights.
We're going, see, again, dude, you asked what you have to do to get a gift card.
This
we're
ain't
going
it.
the wrong direction,
This
bro.
ain't it.
This ain't it, dog.
Is nothing more than a negotiating tool. No, they already tried that. They already tried that. Use the horse manure to pony up more money. I don't think that's. I wish that we tried that already. It did not work. It did not work. It's weird to me. Well, we have James's comment on the on the screen.
Oh dear.
Rich, who asked me not to out him, he has a 100% Oklahoma State Instagram account. Says, please stop taking Oak State James seriously. He doesn't represent diehard Oklahoma State fans. His takes are ridiculous. And frankly, no one believes that Mike Gundy is the guy to lead us back to the promised land.
Filling in for somebody.
This coaching staff is older than you, and you're pretty old. LOL.
Damn.
He says. But for a Mormon who's about to die, even you're younger than the Oak State coaching staff.
He has our full respect.
Thank you.
Okay.
See, that is Oklahoma State fan talking sense, Oak State James. My guy, even Oak State fans. Rich is right. James is a TCU fan.
Hey, that's true though.
Oh.
That's true though.
James taking some shots. All right. And I do want to, if you're new to, if today's your first day on the show, I'm really sorry.
Perhaps play a little game called
Just a Tip. Mark wants to know, why do you keep talking about penises and Zin?
Well,
I have to know.
Well, hold on. It wasn't a penis. It was foreskin, which is just a slight difference.
Thank you.
Slight difference.
He says, thank you for shouting out public service. Both of my brothers are Marines who serve this country with honor. I am a police officer in suburban Los Angeles. I haven't heard about this Zin cock thing. If you could explain.
Sorry, I thought you just said in a DM. I haven't heard of this Zin cock thing.
First of all, thank you to our law enforcement community. Hello, Los Angeles. Good to talk to you tonight. We talked about it last week on the show, and I might still, yeah. There are guys, and it started with the Dutch, but there are actual men.
The cock.
My friend Trav says, please don't go back to buttholes and Zin packs. I can't.
Just Google Zin butthole.
Yes. There are dudes out there.
Yeah.
Who believe that it is mainlining your Zin to pack, and I'm not making this up, to pack your foreskin full of Zin pouches, which are those little nicotine pouches. They're putting them in underneath their sheath, and
they're packing, if you know what
they're
we mean.
packing.
Yeah.
And that includes the rectum. Which is amazing to me.
I'm still a human.
No, you're not. If you put Zin up there, no, you're not.
I just try to stand strong.
No, you're not. You're. I'm telling you, you are not.
Yeah, bro. It's I couldn't imagine doing that, and whether you're hitting the pen or doing Zins or whatever,
hitting the pen.
I just, I'm not about that life, bro.
Did you guys see that story about the pen, vapes? Did you guys see what they're saying about vapes now?
That's rough, bro.
That vapes, it actually kills your lung tissue. It's this popcorn lung thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all young people. It is all young people. And it was pointed out to me that they've added vapes to the honor code at BYU.
Have they?
Yes. Not even kidding. All right. Before we get out of here, why do millennials hate kids, Jake?
I don't know. Why do we hate kids?
Interesting story, friends. I read this at kinship.com, which is a great little website if you are into pop culture or just stories in general. Kinship.com is where you can get this story, and I clipped the headline so you guys could see it. Because this is not a new trend. This trend, I found a story in 2022 about this exact same thing. And so when I saw this story on kinship.com, I was a little surprised to see the headline, Millennials are choosing pets over kids, a study finds. Jake, do you have kids that you know of?
No, not that I know of. No.
Do you have a dog?
I do.
How many dogs have you had?
2.
2. Now, how many kids have you had?
None.
So you're choosing pets over kids?
I am. Unintentionally, I might add.
So it's not like a foreskin,
no,
a forethought.
It's not a buttholes in situation.
A statistic that should not surprise anyone: more than half of all American households have a dog. I think we realize that. As we all know, 4 years ago, COVID anxiety skyrocketed amongst the millennial generation, right? Human birth rates are at a historic low and have decreased by 3% year over year since 2022. Y'all ain't out there 21 times a month.
Nah.
What's really interesting is millennial women in a survey said that they would rather have pets than kids. Of the women surveyed who do not plan on having children, 46% of millennial women surveyed simply have no desire to raise a child. And to that, add to that a politically shaky atmosphere, environmental concerns, and economic stability.
Yeah.
42% have said that the pandemic impacted their resolve to not have kids. And they have not changed. That's why the update on this story, I read the survey. There's a survey thing that I get every day.
Yeah.
A survey showed that over 70% of millennials surveyed said that the opinions and feelings they had about their future that were formed during the pandemic have not changed. In fact, they have become stronger and more cemented since the pandemic ended.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like as a millennial, you don't want to have kids. And what's the number one reason? Instability about the future, insecurity about the instability of the future. You're not sure what the future is going to look like. You're not sure you can afford to have kids. And remember, I talked about this the other day.
Uh-huh.
I said, if you're 40, if you're a man and you're 40 years old, your childbearing days are over, get snipped.
Mm-hmm.
You should not be fathering children after the age of 40, in my opinion. Financially, life building wise, thriving wise, I think it's a mistake. There is I think it's 60-something% of millennial women now say they're too old to have their first child. Because millennials now, and I think you're on the younger side of a millennial, millennials now are pushing 40 on a regular basis. So I think millennials in that generation agree with me that as you push, and I think it really is, if you're 34 to 36, you got to put your foot on the gas in a certain direction and go.
I'm on the late end of the millennial.
You're on late end of the millennial.
Yeah, millennials are 81 to 96.
Oh, so 90, but that's exactly my point.
Mm-hmm.
So 1981,
mm-hmm.
91, 2001, like you start looking at you're pushing 40 here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, if you look at a kid that's born in 81, think about it. 91, 2001, 2011, 2020, like you're millennials are moving towards 40 on median. That's, dude, I'm telling you, that's awfully difficult to get away from.
Yeah, I think the hard part is, again, and it's, I get it, cry me a river type stuff, but But millennials have had to deal with deal with a lot of stuff. You know, we just unfortunately have run into things. And yeah, I think people generally speaking are not stupid, right? Like if you think about when it comes to being able to say, okay, do I have enough money to pay my bills or not? Right? Like that's a pretty simple equation. You know, choices impact that, and your choices change that equation. And so I think what a lot of people are saying to themselves are, well, hey, I've got my job, and you know, like I'm lucky enough to have a lot of flexibility. I can work remote, can work in an office. Like there's a lot of flexibility in what we do. But, you know, a lot of people have that office bearing job still and have that, you know, that 9 to 5 setup where they have a commute and they have all these things that they got to deal with. And they've got, you know, everyone's situation is different. But I just think that this concept of, oh man, you're going to get married at 20 and have kids and you're going to be able to afford all this. Like, I just don't think that that's honestly what it is right now. And I'm not saying that'll never come back. But what I am saying is you're people are surprised millennials are not interested in having kids. But you've also, you know, life or the world or whatever has also said to millennials, hey, well, you're not going to be able to afford to buy a house. You're going to be massively in debt from your college education that you were beat over the head by your parents that you just had to get, right? Because we know that's a thing in the millennial generation.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of our parents told us we had to go to college and do that. You know, so a lot of millennials are strapped that way. So I just think, you know, millennials aren't like, oh, well, we hate having kids. And no, what it's been is we've been grinding and trying to survive here. And it's just the years pass by. Like that's.
Well, but I also think when you look at this generation, there is a real issue with detachment. There is a real issue with the inability to communicate and create intimate relationships. And I think when you start understanding, hey, it's harder because again, what's the top end of 1981? You'd be 44 years old. If you were born today in 1981, you're turning 44 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How stable are you financially? Right? Because we know that millennials are not buying homes. We know that millennials are not making money. We know that millennials have exorbitant college and credit card debt. And then you pile on top of that, like you look at the fact that the food stamp and public service issues in this budget, which is something a lot of people are talking about, this budget that Donald Trump is trying to pass, this code, the taxes, all of this stuff is going to gravely impact millennials. And I think, again, unless you're somebody that is, if you're 18 to 22, right now you can do anything you want to do. If you're 22 to 25, you got to start making some real tough decisions. You need to have picked a direction. Bro, if you are 30 to, I would say 30 to 40, you better put your foot on the gas today. Because it's not going to get easier for you. It's going to get more difficult. My generation is just a step ahead. This tax code spending stuff that Donald Trump is doing will help my generation because we already make more money. Most of us have an LLC or a business that we own. And pass-through businesses, LLCs are going to do very well under if this big, beautiful bill passes. The things that concern me is that I think it's going to be very difficult for the young 20-something to afford health care. I think it's going to be very difficult for the young 20-something to say, oh, I'll just go. Like when I was a young 20-something, I waited tables at Chili's and I made thousands of dollars a week doing that. Those days are over. That's not happening anymore. You know, like it to me, I think millennials, you guys have to be uber aggressive and you have to make a decision because so many millennials are not getting married. And I think, you know, what's one of the really interesting things? I don't think it's mandatory for you to get married anymore because the tax stuff does not help you. If you look at the tax code and the budget cutting, is getting married really the best way to grow generational wealth? Well, I'm going to say it's not.
Not right now, it's not.
Is having children, is that going to be the way to make generational wealth? Not if the child tax credit's taken away. No, it's not. So you're looking at a situation where it doesn't make sense to put it on paper that you're married. It doesn't make sense to have 2-3 kids in a dog and a picket fence.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I think that we're in a time where you know, I think the best of us in my generation will choose to make uncomfortable decisions for the greater good, for yourself in 20 years. That's what I think. I think that your generation has 20 years of experience and time advantage on us.
Absolutely.
Not to say that and I want to be clear, I don't view this as, Gen X and millennials are competing per se. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when you just look at the ability to thrive or survive as best you can, let's say, 20 years of experience, 20 years, 25 years in a marriage, like all those little things that you go through in life, like that's an advantage. And I think that, it's also an advantage to have, 20 years advantage in the workplace. I mean, you're talking about Gen X typically having stock options and, $150,000 to $200,000 salaries to work with, right? Yep. Like that's an advantage. Now, again, it's not to say that Gen X was given that. They worked their ass off to get that, and there's respect that's due there. And I give that. I'm not the millennials saying that we should be resenting Gen X. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Gen X was born early enough and had enough time before the crap hit the fan in 2008, and then with the pandemic, to where they were insulated enough to where if they made good decisions and weren't idiots, they would be fine. And that's what's happened here. The problem is that the millennial generation didn't learn those lessons because we were too young. We were too young to appreciate what the 2008 crash meant. We were too young to go through those times and say, yeah, you know what? These are the lessons we learned from that. How can we apply them in the real world? We were just too young. So now we're in a position where we thought, oh, well, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get college educated. And I'm sure there are plenty of millennials who are using that college education, getting paid, doing good things with it. But now more than ever, I'm telling you, the millennial that chooses to do what's best for their situation, that makes pragmatic financial decisions, is going to be fine. We are going to get through it. Eventually, times will turn. Eventually, housing markets are going to reset. They are going to turn.
But again, another thing that we're facing, the growing debt in this country at the federal debt is going to keep interest rates very high. And that's the thing that worries me. I think real estate is still by far the best place to plant your money. Long-term stuff. This bill is going to make buying an Airbnb absolutely fantastic. If you're somebody, again, I say if you have an LLC or an S Corp, you're in business, right? Like if you have an Airbnb, if you have a property portfolio, you're in business. But you better have a tax person.
Mm-hmm.
Because the language, and if it makes it through whatever,
the Senate,
but just understand, if it makes it through the committees in the Senate, and the language in this bill is so difficult to understand for the average dude. You need, and we happen to have an elite tax person.
We do.
I'm telling you, I've had a bad one. I just paid a $13,000 tax bill today because my previous accountant made huge mistakes. I'm telling you, you better have somebody to teach you the tax code. And I don't give a rat's ass what your life circumstance is. If you are 20 years old and you do not have an LLC in your name, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
If you are, I do not care, and I've said this from the day that if you have a baby, the day that they are born, you make an LLC in their exact name. Josephine Karen Smith, LLC. You have to do this stuff. The tax code doesn't allow for you to play games. If you are alive and you do not have an LLC or an S Corp, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I promise you, if you are a 20-year-old and you don't understand e-commerce, you are doing it Wrong. I talked to a golf company today, and we've been talking to this golf company for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what this guy said to me about influencers in the golf space? He said there's so many 20-year-olds who think they know what being an influencer is, and they have no idea how to even do business. Like, one of the first things this guy and I talked about was, hey, where am I going to send this to and whose name? And it's like, yeah, totally agree. They have no idea where to send it to and in whose name. Because you better have that put in jimmysmith, LLC.com at this address.
Yes.
Mail it to this address, right?
Yeah, you're not sending it to your mom's house in your personal name.
And people don't understand that. People don't understand that. And it's why I talk about this stuff on our show so often. If you don't understand the making money and losing money in this economy, you're going to be in real trouble, man.
So yeah, millennials are not looking to have kids right now.
No, they're not.
And I will testify, I'm not looking to have a whole infield. Not at all. Also not looking to be the last one in my bloodline, can tell you that. So I just think that there are considerations, and I agree with all the things we've said here. I think millennials are scared, bro. And I think they're not equipped to make the decision that will set them on a course that will free them or help them get free in 4 or 5 years.
My buddy Jack.
Hey, Jack.
My buddy Jack says somebody needs to teach kids in an early age, because we're not doing it in high school anymore. What the heck is an LLC? How many 17-year-olds even know what the 3 letters stand for?
Yep.
That is a really good question. I'll just go back to this. If you have kids, grandkids, if you're an uncle and aunt, like, you got to communicate this stuff.
Yeah.
Because nobody's teaching your kids in school. It is a brutal way of doing business. And I just think that if you're a millennial, I'm begging you, if you are just sitting around hoping and praying, man, I'm begging you to do something about it.
Yeah.
You put your foot on the gas, man. Learn a skill, get a business that doesn't rely on your paycheck, like, because it's scary out there. Anyways, Knicks are already losing, so
yeah,
just thought I'd
throw that out there, yeah,
and stuff.
Anyway,
all right, there you go. The Monty Show, as always, presented by our friends at the Advocates, theadvocates.com. Oh wait, we got to stop the show. James put a paid comment forward for $5. Numbers don't lie. Mike Gundy had 8 winning seasons in the last 10 years. Let's keep running that out there. 2 9-win seasons. Yes, I do think Oak State has gotten better with the portal.
Okay, play the music.
Maury Alvarez for $5. If I can get 75 people to say I should get a gift card, could you send me one?
Were you Growcock?
Seriously. Who are you, Growcock? I'm sorry. Mike Gundy had 8 seasons with at least 10 wins, 2 9-win seasons. They didn't get better in the portal. There's no data to support that, unfortunately for James.
Anyway.
The Monty Show is always presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. I'm just telling y'all. I see all the comments. I appreciate everybody contributing. Thanks for being here today. Hit the like button on the way out the door. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.